You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1113 1113 Chapter 267 Entering the Daming Institute of Civilization 2. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the people at the entrance of the institute had left. At this moment, there were fewer people at the entrance of the institute. There were fewer people. Suyu felt a sense of desolation as the autumn wind swept away the fallen leaves. Just a moment ago, he was still looking at me and talking about me. Where is he? Could it be that I'm not as popular as that big round bear? A bunch of weirdos. Suyu felt helpless. Fortunately, someone soothed his injured heart in the next moment. A petite and cute little girl walked over with a bright smile. She giggled and said, "Ignore them. They're all like that. It's only a matter of time before they become popular." Suyu smiled and said, "It's fine." Luckily, someone finally struck up a conversation with me. I still wanted to ask how to get to the Duotian Literature Academy. Just as I was thinking about it, the girl took out a bunch of things and said with a smile, "Student Suyu, I don't think you have a riding beast that can take you anywhere. I have all kinds of them, flying in the sky, running underground, swimming in the water. I have them here too." In the next moment, a few students who hadn't left the college came forward to peddle their wares. "Student Suyu, do you like to drink? I have a magical wine-making machine here. It's very cheap. 30 merit points. You can taste all kinds of wine. It's not worse than our 10,000 wine realm. Student Suyu, what's the point of drinking? I have a beautiful puppet girl who can transform at any time. She can transform into any race she wants." Vulgar. Student Suyu is not like you guys. The geniuses from the Great Xia Mansion are all battle maniacs. Student Suyu, I have a portable arena here. Once I throw it down, there's an arena. I can spar with others at any time. As he said that, he really threw it down, and an arena appeared. The student said loudly, "This thing is a good thing. It has a defensive barrier. It cannot be broken even when it is in the air." Of course, if Student Suyu were to customize an advanced version, even mountains and seas would not be able to break it. It can be used as a defensive barrier in the wild. It has multiple functions. It can fight, and it can protect itself. If it needs to be customized, it can also customize other special functions. Suyu was just a country bumpkin at the moment. He was a little stunned as he looked at the arena. How could this be possible? He was actually a little interested. Just as his interest was piqued, the next moment, someone shouted, "This isn't good. Look at this." With a whoosh, an incomparably huge map appeared in the air. The Human Realm Exploration Map has marked all the cities in the human realm, all the places, the super navigation system, and the good stuff that everyone must have. When you go to the human realm, you can't lose it anywhere. What a good item. Just as Suyu was about to speak, another person shouted, "That's too bad. Who would lose it in the human realm? Look at this, a super beast catcher. If you throw it into the wild, it will instantly attract countless demons to snatch it. Stop bullshitting, that thing of yours is really useful for suicide." Nonsense, this treasure of mine is a treasure to students like Suyu who have unparalleled combat strength. Don't take it out. Boom. Just as he said that, more than 10 demonic beasts suddenly rushed out from the school and charged towards the ball that the person took out. Their eyes were red. In the air, a teacher Ling Yun shouted, "Put it away, who are you? Quickly put it away, do you believe that our beast taming academy will flatten your manufacturing academy? What a mess." Suyu left quietly. This was the Daming Civilization Academy? What a mess. However, it was really fun. Those things were all quite interesting and creative. If not for the fact that there were too many people and it was too messy, he really wanted to buy some back. The last little ball that attracted the demonic beasts was a good thing. It was just a little out of control. If he provoked a great demon, it would be troublesome. Of course, the effect of the ball was average. It attracted only some small demons. The water people and shadows on Suyu's body were not affected. Chaos. However, it was not the chaos of the Great Xia Civilization Academy, or rather, it was full of vitality. The students here were all too full of vitality. Suyu entered the Great Xia Civilization University and kept a low profile as he walked forward. Along the way, he saw everything. Someone was planting flowers in the university. Yes, planting flowers. When Suyu passed by, the flower suddenly opened its mouth and swallowed him. The girl who planted the flower said angrily, "This land is rented by me. You're not allowed to leave. I'm planting something. If you step on it, you'll have to pay for it." Suyu was speechless. He apologized and quickly left. After walking for a while, there was a pond in front. Someone was fishing and saw Suyu. He hurriedly called out, "Classmate, are you fishing?" Those who train their willpower can also train their arm strength. There's an orange fish beast down there. When fishing, their willpower will compete and clash. It's even more useful than the language of will. Suyu refused. He walked around and continued moving forward. On the way, he could see all kinds of situations. This Deming Institute of Civilization was really too lively. He even saw a few students debugging a very large machine. Suddenly, the machine exploded, causing a few students to roll around in dust. These people were not surprised. Instead, they were happy. They excitedly continued debugging the next machine. He saw that there was an old man strolling around. After taking a closer look, he realized that it was not strolling around. The old man was stepping on a firestorm wheel and was moving rapidly. When he saw Suyu, the old man chuckled and said, "Little friend, where are you going? Do you want to buy a firestorm wheel and travel all over Daming Manor in one day?" "Thank you, but there's no need." Suyu thanked him, but the old man did not mind. He continued to walk around on his firestorm wheel. Suyu wiped the sweat that did not exist on his forehead. This Daming Institute of Civilization was really interesting. He even had some doubts. Was this an amusement park? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1114. 1114 Chapter 267 Entering Daming University of Civilization 3. Soon, a huge courtyard gate appeared before them. Multi-Divine Arts Fusion Faculty. There were a few large words carved on it. Before they even entered the huge courtyard gate, they heard someone shouting from inside, "Go quickly, the big round ball has given birth, go and take a look." In the next moment, a few students rushed out. The leader was the fastest and almost bumped into Suyu. When he stopped and saw Suyu, he hurriedly said, "Classmate, the big round ball gave birth. Did you go to see it?" He was really energetic. The Great Xia Mansion's many divine runes department had a deep grudge against them. In the end, the students from the Great Ming Mansion wanted to see the bear give birth. Powerless. In this place, could I really recruit a group of people and kill my way back to the Great Xia Mansion? I didn't see them. Oh, then we'll go take a look. Do you want to come along? No need, thank you. Those people ignored him and ran quickly. After running for a while, someone asked curiously, "That was Suyu just now?" It was him, right? Oh, after we finish watching the big ball, we'll come back to see Suyu. There's nothing special about him. Anyway, since he's here, we'll be able to see him sooner or later. It's a rare opportunity for the big ball to give birth. That's true. The few of them ran away, and their voices were not soft. Su Yu was mentally exhausted. F***ck, I can't even compare to a bear. He walked into the courtyard. The birds chirped and the flowers were fragrant. The environment was beautiful, and the small bridge flowed like water. As he walked, a middle-aged woman walked over after a moment. She smiled and said, Su Yu. Su Yu bowed and said, hello, teacher. This is teacher Ling Yun realm strength. Su Yu could vaguely feel it. The middle-aged woman smiled and said, don't be too restrained and don't be too polite. We don't have many people from the Divine Literature Department, so everyone is familiar with me. My name is Huang Feng, 3rd level Ling Yun realm, and I'm also a junior researcher. Speaking of which, we are of the same level, and the dean is already waiting for you. Thank you, Teacher Huang. Su Yu followed behind her and walked forward. Huang Feng smiled as she walked and said, do you feel that the gap between the Deming Institute and the Great Xia is very big? A little. Huang Feng smiled, that's normal. The Great Xia is a war maniac. They fight wars year after year. Our Daming Academy actually doesn't fight many wars. When wars break out, it's always the warriors who have priority. Civilized masters usually don't go to the battlefield. It doesn't matter if they are carefree or if they are always in danger. The Daming Academy has been peaceful for too long. The definition of a civilized academy is different from the Great Xia. Our head is the same. Head Nyo is the first head. When he founded the Daming Civilization Academy, he was defined as a research talent. Unless the Daming Academy is in danger, the responsibility of a civilized master is to create, research, and decipher. The Daming Civilization Academy is a supporting academy, not a combat-type academy. Su Yu nodded. He clearly understood that the first-generation head of the academy was still around. With the current Daming Civilization Academy, it was very normal. Thank you, teacher, for your explanation. Huang Feng smiled and said, but, as I said, if you forget about battle, you will definitely be in danger. In fact, Head Nyu also knew this point. Therefore, the Daming Civilization Academy also has a combat-type academy. The Divine Arts Department is a combat-type academy, and the Multi-Divine Arts Department is the pillar of the combat-type academy. Su Yu nodded again. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Huang Feng smiled and said, do you feel that our Multi-Divine Literature Department might not have much combat strength? No. Huang Feng smiled and said, that's normal, but you didn't see everything. In fact, the combat strength of the Multi-Divine Literature Department is still very strong. Including our principal, who is actually not as weak as you look. Many years ago, your Great Xia Manor's Elder Hong came to the Daming Manor to exchange pointers with the principal. After that, he lost. Su Yu was surprised and somewhat in disbelief. He looked at Huang Feng smiled and said, it's true. If you don't believe me, you can ask someone who knows. The Multi-Divine Language faculty is a combat faculty, but that doesn't mean that it can only be used in battle. Some special abilities can also determine the outcome. The Dean's main divine language is a spatial divine language. It reverses space and moves in all directions. Elder Hong chased after the Dean for 6 hours. In the end, his stamina was exhausted and his Yuan Qi and willpower were greatly exhausted. He admitted defeat. Su Yu said in disbelief, the principle is a spatial divine text. Yes. Otherwise, the principal wouldn't have thought of studying the spatial teleportation array. It was precisely because of this that he had such thoughts. Sigh, it also delayed his cultivation. Otherwise, he would probably be at the Sun-Moon realm soon. Huang Feng said, then, he smiled and said, civilized masters don't necessarily have to be able to kill. If that's the case, why not cultivate the warrior Dao? The strength of a civilized master lies in its mysteriousness and its variety. I saw some images of you before. Your talent, blood essence, and all sorts of changes. This is what a civilized master is capable of. As for Hong Tan, Bai Feng, and Chen Yong, including many civilized masters from Great Xia, they are actually putting the cart before the horse. Huang Feng smiled and said, "You might think that Great Xia's civilized masters are stronger, but if we really fight, that might not be the case. Under the same cultivation level, Great Xia's civilized masters might not be able to win. Of course, there are many battles and rapid progress. There is no doubt about that. On the side of Great Xia, there are twice as many Shanghai realm civilization masters as us. This is related to the number of battles." Su Yu nodded slightly. Huang Feng continued to lead him forward. "I'm telling you all this because I want to say that what you learned and saw on the side of Great Xia might not be all of the civilization masters. Don't be blinded by one leaf. Don't think that the civilized masters in the Great Ming Mansion are really weak. Once you form this impression, it will be very difficult for you to learn anything useful in the Great Ming Mansion." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 11:15. 11:15 Chapter 267, Entering the Daming Institute of Civilization 4. Huang Feng said seriously, "You didn't come to the Daming Institute purely to seek refuge, right? If you were to seek refuge, then the Great Xia Institute wouldn't do anything to you now that you've returned to the Great Xia Institute. I'm afraid that the Divine Literature Department wouldn't dare to target you anymore. I feel that you still have your own thoughts and want to obtain something from the Daming Institute, right?" Su Yu nodded. "Teacher is right. Then, you have to recognize yourself. Don't think that you don't have to care about anything just because you've killed Ling Yun." Huang Feng said calmly, "The blood essence is an external object. The things created by other civilized masters are also external objects. If you can kill Ling Yun, the rest is fine too. Other things aside, there are people who specialize in poison divine prose at the Great Ming School. There was once a student who poisoned Ling Yun to death. Of course, it's not as hot-blooded and shocking as when you forcefully killed the other party. However, is there a difference between being poisoned to death and being forcefully killed?" Su Yu thought for a moment and shook his head. "It's the same. The goal is to kill people." "Yes." Huang Feng smiled. "It's good that you can recognize this. It's not like the people from the Great Xia Mansion who look down on you with petty tricks and unorthodox methods. These stupid people always feel that only by forcefully killing can one's strength be highlighted. A person's innate talent, isn't it their innate talent to be able to cultivate the divine poison script that poisoned Ling Yun to death? Isn't this strength? Why do you have to think that only you guys are orthodox?" Su Yu continued, "Teacher is right. Teacher, don't worry. I can recognize myself clearly. I'm still very weak and won't think that anyone is weak. Even if I have a good temperament, it's not that I don't have the chance to kill me. I understand this point." Huang Feng smiled, "Don't be too modest. You're very strong. This is a fact. It is a fact that you are talented and powerful. No one can deny this. The fact that you are able to come to the Daming Civilization Academy is also something that we want to see. Learn from each other and learn from each other's strengths. This is something that everyone should do instead of excluding each other. This is not good." As he said that, Huang Feng continued, "Do you know why the Daming Mansion rarely participates in the Battle of Numbers? Because the civilized masters of our Great Ming Mansion are actually excluded as a whole. The civilized masters of the other manors feel that we are not doing our job properly and don't feel that we are on the same side from the bottom of our hearts. Since that's the case, the Great Ming Mansion is also happy to be quiet and don't bother about them." Su Yu said in surprise, "The other manors are all similar to the Great Xia Mansion." "Most of them are similar." Huang Feng explained, "Even though they are known as the Holy Land of Civilized Masters, in all these years, their minds have not been focused on research. Instead, they have been focused on battle. The strength of their battle strength indicates the strength of civilized masters. But let me ask you, you have developed the acupoint fusion technique. Is the effect of this acupoint fusion technique comparable to a mountain and sea? Suyu nodded. I think it's possible. That's what you think, but in the eyes of the public, you're still a student in the character nurturing realm. Have you become a pavilion elder? No. Suyu didn't say anything. A pavilion elder needs at least the strength of a mountain and sea realm. Of course, under special circumstances, Ling Yun can do it too. But what about you? Can you become a pavilion elder? Has anyone suggested that you run for the position of pavilion elder? No. Why? Huang Feng smiled. Because your strength isn't enough. In many people's eyes, your joint aperture technique is powerful, but you are not strong enough. Therefore, you are not qualified. But in the Daming Mansion, you have hope. Suyu was stunned. What did she mean? The Daming Mansion also has to follow some of the rules of the Quest realm, but not all of them. Our mansion master Nyo sometimes doesn't like these rules, so there are some honorary elders in the Daming Civilization Academy. Huang Feng smiled. If you can create some more useful martial arts and spread it around, many people will benefit from it. Then, you can become an honorary elder and enjoy the same rights as an official elder. Of course, people outside the Daming Mansion may not recognize you, but the Daming Mansion will. The Daming Civilization University now has 14 official elders, but there are also 8 honorary elders. These people have different abilities. There is soaring in the sky, there is Ling Yun, and there is even a nurturing nature. Suyu was shocked. Nurturing nature? Yes. Huang Feng smiled. Of course, he isn't young anymore. He is almost 100 years old and is an old man. He doesn't have any other abilities and is weak. Both of us can easily defeat him. However, he made an important contribution. 30 years ago, this person invented the beast riding absorption technique. In the past, puppets were very huge and were not easy to carry around. The same goes for demonic beasts. Ever since he invented the beast riding absorption technique, he was able to reduce the size of puppets. He didn't need a spatial ring or spatial divine prose. The beast riding technique quickly spread to the entire Great Ming Mansion. This is a contribution. Anyone can carry it. Traveling, training, and traveling are all very helpful. Do you think his contribution is small? Suyu shook his head. It's very big. At least when I saw those riding beasts, even I was tempted. That's right. We rarely raise some riding demon beasts, such as the galloping cloud horse or the earth dragon beast. There's no need for them. Those things still need to be captured, fed, and tamed, but we don't need them. Suyu exclaimed, character nurturing realm. Pavilion elder. He had really learned a lot. Then does this pavilion elder really have the right to speak? Of course. Huang Feng smiled, at least in the Great Ming Institute, he has a lot of power. In the pavilion elder meeting, he also has a vote. The honorary pavilion elder is the same, no different from Shanghai pavilion elder. Suyu's eyes flashed, then if I can come up with something good, will I have a chance? Of course. Huang Feng smiled, if your fusion technique is promoted in the Great Ming Academy, you will have a chance to apply. As long as half of the other elders agree and the manor head agrees, you can become an honorary elder. The fusion technique is a stepping stone to the door of the elders. Suyu swallowed his saliva. Pavilion elders were still very awesome. At the very least, they had the right to speak. They could meddle in all matters of the academy. Daming Manor actually had such rules. This, he had actually not seen it while reading these past few days. Teacher, is there any rule in the academy that high-level experts cannot challenge low-level cultivators? No. Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Huang Feng said calmly, there's no need for that. Rules are things that restrict people. There's no need to establish them. If a high-level cultivator challenges you, if you don't want to pay attention to it, just admit defeat. If you admit defeat, who would be so bored as to cause trouble for you? For example, if you have a good temperament and repeatedly insult Shanghai, would Shanghai have to endure it? It's normal to beat you up. Could it be that because of this, you went to cause trouble for Shanghai and said that he was wrong? Normally, this kind of thing doesn't happen in the academy. If the other party really wants to challenge you, you admit defeat. If you're wrong, then apologize, and the matter will be over. If you insist on being stubborn, even though you're clearly wrong, you still refuse to admit defeat. If you refuse to admit that you're wrong and get beaten up, then you deserve it. Su Yu nodded. Sometimes, it's hard to judge right from wrong. That's simple. The academy has an arbitration system. Alright, in the end, they still got the rules. However, it was a little more humane than the Great Xia residence, and less rigid. As they spoke, they arrived at a huge building. 6th floor. The Manifestation Research Institute. It was really straightforward. This was their future research institute. Su Yu raised his head and looked over. At this moment, Hu Xiancheng also appeared. His expression was complicated. Looking at Su Yu's admiring gaze, he was filled with grievance. What are you looking at? This is mine. At least it's still mine. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1116. 1116 Chapter 268 Old Friends from Other Places 1. I'm here. Let's take a look at the Research Institute. Hu Xiancheng was in a dilemma. It was complicated. Su Yu laughed. Beside him, Huang Feng also said bluntly, Dean, so be it. What's there to be reluctant about? After so many years of research, it has cost a lot of money. It's also a good thing to stop the losses in time. Without this, you might have reached the sun and moon long ago. You don't understand. I don't understand. Huang Feng said impolitely, there are so many things that can be researched, yet you insist on researching this. Do you think that you are very capable? Su Yu looked at the two in astonishment. What was going on? The teacher was criticizing the dean so much. Hu Xiancheng glanced at Su Yu and said faintly, what are you looking at? This is my student. Stop looking at him. There are 4 students from the Department of Divine Literature in the Academy, Ling Yun, and 8 students who are flying in the air. They are all my students. Holy shit. Su Yu was shocked. It couldn't be. All of them are your students. Huang Feng saw that Su Yu was shocked and explained, the dean has lived for a long time. He's already 300 years old. We are indeed all his students. He was speechless. Hu Xiancheng didn't care either. After so many years, he had long gotten used to this group of lawless students. At this moment, he sighed and said, the Great Ming Mansion's many divine languages department is already of little value. Back then, I was the only one. It was only because of the influence of the first generation of the Great Xia Mansion that I opened the many divine languages department here. Later on, the first generation died, the third generation died, and the 5th generation died. I can't be bothered to get involved in those matters anymore. Su Yu was speechless. He was still a character from that era, a 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. This, cough cough, it was hard to say anything. Hu Xiancheng seemed to have guessed what he meant. He said faintly, strength doesn't mean anything. Even the sun and moon might not be able to catch up to me in my main space. It's enough that a civilized master can run. Survival is the most important thing. He's not a fighter. Kid, don't keep thinking that the Great Xia Mansion is amazing. Amazing. Those guys are all dead. I'm still alive. Let's go in and take a look. Hu Xianqing couldn't be bothered to say anything more. He waved his hand, and waves seemed to rise and fall in the air. In the next moment, the waves disappeared. This is the first layer of the Sun and Moon formation. It's anti-eavesdropping, but it's not invincible. Even if invincible comes, we can't defend against it. It's enough to defend against the Sun and Moon. With that, he activated another layer of the formation. This is the second layer. It's anti-infiltration. Even if the Sun and Moon arrive, they will be discovered and reported to the police. This is the third layer. It's a true offensive formation. If the mountains and seas force their way in, they will be beaten to death. The Sun and Moon will also need time to break through. He activated 3 layers of the formation in succession, and Su Yu was also shocked. Although he had known about these formations before, at this moment, he was still shocked. They were much stronger than the defensive formations of the Wentan Research Center. Of course, they were also much stronger than the ones he had created at the Primordial Spirit Research Center. After the 3 layers of arrays, there was a door. This door is not an ordinary door. Hu Xianqing explained, I built it myself. I'll take it as a gift to you. This thing is incredible. I built it myself over many years. It's actually a teleportation array. Of course, it's not used to teleport people, but to kill people. The Sun and Moon intruded. If I'm not careful, I didn't pay attention to this door. I punched this door and it was quickly devoured by space. Then, I was cut to death. Hu Xianqing chuckled and said, under normal circumstances, after passing through the 3 layers of the formation, others won't care too much about it. They won't open this door properly either. They'll definitely use brute force to break it down. When that time comes, it'll be enough to make them suffer. Su Yu asked in surprise, Director, is Daming Manor in danger? It's all right. Hu Xianqing smiled. Huang Feng explained, Daming Manor isn't considered dangerous. The key is that Daming Manor doesn't have as much of a deterrent force as the Great Xia Manor. There are quite a number of people from the Myriad Clan sect who are active here. They're also quite bold. Sometimes, they even dare to infiltrate the Sky Capital Manor. In addition, the Daming Prefecture has a lot of messy research. Many members of the 10,000 clans are also eyeing our results. Therefore, we need to be careful when conducting important research. Su Yu nodded. So that was the case. The 10,000 clans. As expected, they were very daring. They even dared to sneak into the capital city. In the Great Xia Prefecture and the Great Xia Prefecture, the inner city wouldn't be able to see the members of the 10,000 clans. Of course, those who normally snuck in wouldn't count. In any case, no one dared to make a move inside the Great Xia Prefecture. The inner city was a forbidden area. Those who made a move in the suburbs had to be careful. Hu Xianqing opened the door, and Su Yu followed him into the hall. When he entered, he was stunned. It was not the hall, the living area that he had imagined. When he walked through the door, he saw a large courtyard. It was very, very big. When he looked up, he could see the sky, the blue sky, and the white clouds. What he saw was a rockery. The rockery was surrounded by flowing water, and the sound of flowing water added some vitality to the courtyard. There weren't that many layers of deathly aura. Hu Xianqing didn't care too much. When Huang Feng saw Su Yu raise his head to look at the sky, she smiled and said, "Don't look anymore. This isn't a real sky, nor is it. It's a real sky. However, it's a trick that refracts the sky. This is still the interior of the building. However, you can use some refracting divine runes and divine talismans to intercept the sky from the outside. You can still adjust it. At night, you can adjust it to day or night." Su Yu's eyes flickered. With that said, this technique was not difficult. However, no one in the Great Xia mansion had used this to modify their research institute. They were all lifeless. The first floor was the first floor. The sky was fake, but here, it was as if it was real. The space was instantly magnified. The first floor was filled with rockery, flowing water, blue sky, and white clouds. There were also a few furry demonic beasts running around. At this moment, little hairy balls suddenly appeared and ran over to join in the fun. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1117. 1117 Chapter 268 Old Friends from Other Places too. Hu Xiansheng took a look and was a little surprised. What is that thing? A pet. Ha! Hu Xiansheng sneered. A pet? He had almost not discovered the existence of this thing. Forget it, forget it. The first floor is a rest area, and so is the sixth floor. The environment on the sixth floor is better than this. You can invite 3 or 5 good friends to chat, drink wine, drink tea, and change the seasons. You can change the spring, summer, autumn, and winter at will. If you want snow, there will be snow, if you want rain, there will be rain. Su Yu did not say a word. The research institute on the 6th floor was doing such a thing on the 2nd floor. If it were in the Great Xia Manor, Lord Xia Ho would have raided your house. It was not such a waste. However, when he reached the 2nd floor, he had nothing to say. F***CK. This was a multi-purpose amusement park. There was a restaurant, a bar counter, a wine cabinet, a television, a bedroom, a toilet, and everything else. Hu Xiansheng said reluctantly, I usually stay on the 2nd floor, so I'll give it to you. The 2nd floor is considered private space. If you bring people up to the 3rd floor or above, you can use the helicopter tunnel over there. The 2nd floor can be directly sealed off, so no one will see you. Su Yu did not say anything. He really knew how to enjoy himself. He followed and soon, they reached the 3rd floor. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors were the real research rooms. However, this research room was different from the others. On the 3rd floor, there were bookshelves and cubicles. There were also reading rooms and projection rooms. Hu Xiansheng explained as he walked, over here, you can look up a lot of information. When you're tired, you can go to the projection room and directly zoom in. There's a playback system, so you can play it directly. Just close your eyes and listen. There are a total of 118 bookshelves. I've accumulated them over the years, so I'm too lazy to move them away. Each bookshelf has a different kind of books. Treasure them well. Don't mess them up for me. It'll be a waste. Su Yu nodded. This was a good thing. He was lacking these things. Principal, do you have any basic cultivation techniques? Yes. Hu Xiansheng pointed casually. They're all there. They're not worth much. They're all transcribed, not the writings of Will. There used to be quite a few writings of Will, but they were all sold. Alright, it didn't matter if it wasn't, but Su Yu didn't really care. Reading here was a form of enjoyment. He thought about the Primordial Spirit Research Institute he had set up, and how it was like a doghouse. There was no way to compare. Comparing people was infuriating. The high-end leather sofas in the reading room, the extremely bright windows, and the small bridges and flowing water on the 1st floor could be seen outside the windows. It was a pleasant sight to behold, and compared to the civilized masters of the Great Xia Mansion, what a pitiful bunch of country bumpkins. When they were reading, all of them wished that their eyes were glued to the books. Look at them. The lighting system created by the Divine Talisman system was bright and gentle. Sigh, they couldn't be compared anymore. The research institutes of the Great Xia Mansion were all pigs' nests. Soon, they reached the 4th floor. When they reached the 4th floor, Hu Xiansheng was excited. This is the main laboratory. Here, there are a few places that are extremely precious and important. First, the space cutting room. As he spoke, he opened the laboratory. The door was sealed. The moment it was opened, Suyu felt a suction force. Hu Xianqing ignored him. He pointed at some fragments floating in the room and said, "Don't underestimate these things. These things are space fragments. Including some secret realms, do you know? Actually, the reason why secret realms are formed is because they contain some space fragments that can create their own space. There aren't many powerful secret realms in the Great Ming Mansion, but there are many small secret realms. Do you know why? Is it related to this?" Suyu was surprised, and Hu Xianqing nodded. "You know that your Great Xia Mansion has a civilization, right? And, the Shanhai realm can leave behind some divine writings and store them in the civilized spirit. The Great Ming Manor rarely has any civilized spirit," Hu Xianqing said smugly. "Actually, it's not like we don't have any output. For example, we can help to modify some secret realms. Actually, the income is not cheap. If the Shanhai realm divine writings are suitable to be modified into secret realms, they will usually come to me. I can cut space fragments and help them modify them. They can be modified into secret realms that can allow people to enter." Suyu was stunned for a moment before his eyes lit up. "Principal, with this, why are you still bankrupt?" He didn't say that. However, he was really surprised. This should be a subsidiary industry of Hu Xianqing's research. However, even if it was a subsidiary industry, it could be converted into a secret realm and receive hundreds or thousands of merit points, right? How could it be bankrupt? Hu Xianqing was embarrassed. Huang Feng said impolitely, "Don't dream too much. How many mountains and seas are there in the Daming Mansion? How many people die every year? How could there be so many transformations? The divine inscriptions of Soaring Sky and Ling Yun aren't enough. Their toughness is too low, and they can't be expanded into arcane realms. Only the mountains and seas can. Think about it, how many civilized masters can the Daming Mansion lose in a year? How many arcane realms can it transform in a year? Charging 10,000 merit points a time is already considered a lot. It only happens once every 3 to 5 years. How can it be enough?" Suyu understood. Even so, he still said in shock, "That business can be spread to other big manors. I don't think anyone would mind having too many secret realms, right?" Hu Xianqing coughed dryly and said, "I can't cut the space fragments myself, so it's not easy to take this thing away. Someone has to come to me with the divine runes. The key is that if it's really transformed into a secret realm, it's actually not easy to take it away. Otherwise, why do you think the secret realms are fixed in a certain place? We can find experts to help us move it in the Tiandu Mansion. How can we move it outside the Tiandu Mansion? Then why don't we build such a laboratory in other big manors, or just sell the technology?" Hu Xianqing interrupted, "I have to host it. It's too troublesome. It's not my dream to make a fortune by this." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1118. 1118 Chapter 268, Old Friends from Other Places 3. Alright then. Even though the principal had a dream and was on the verge of bankruptcy due to his poverty, Suyu took a few more glances at the laboratory. This was a treasure. It was truly amazing. Hu Xianqing suddenly warned, "These space fragments are all numbered. They aren't random. Don't cut them randomly. If you cut too much, the space won't automatically recover. It will form a black hole that will devour everything. Under normal circumstances, a small piece of space fragment can be formed within 3 months. You can cut it and recover it after 3 months. Don't do anything rash. If you make the black hole too big, it will devour the entire academy and even Daming Prefecture. You're just courting death. Suyu said in surprise, this thing has a lot of lethality, right? It can totally be used as a weapon. Don't think about fighting and killing everything. The speed is too slow. Forming a black hole takes a long time. If you move to the heavenly battlefield, Invincible will discover you in a few days and kill you with a slap. Suyu understood. Next, on the 5th floor. The 5th floor was very big. There was a divine rune stripping room, a preservation room that was similar to Bai Feng's full willpower back then, a fully automated Yuan Qi manufacturing room, a model room, and a small-scale teleportation room. Just one word, high-end. At this point, Suyu had really broadened his horizons. On the 6th floor, it was amazing. There were 4 pavilions: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Spring Wind Pavilion. The spring breeze caressed one's face. The willows swayed. 100 flowers bloomed. The sky was blue. Summer Sun Pavilion. The beach, the sea, the swimming pool. Autumn Pavilion. The falling leaves danced. The sun set in the west. Winter Snow Pavilion. The snowflakes fluttered. There were pavilions in the middle of the lake. They chatted around the stove at night. How was this a research institute? This was a place to eat, drink, and have fun. Different places were also equipped with different music, and different small animals were decorated. Suyu was really impressed. He was impressed. The civilized masters of Daming Manor really knew how to enjoy themselves. He originally thought that Daming Manor's multi-god language faculty was suffering in misery. Only now did he realize that other people's lives were not too comfortable. While other civilized masters of Daming Manor were fighting to the death, other people were enjoying their lives. You thought that the civilized masters of Daming Prefecture were not doing their job, but in reality, they were living 100 times more carefree than you. Apart from their overall strength being a little weak, this was also the biggest drawback of Daming Prefecture. Too comfortable. They lacked the necessary sense of crisis. Once a great war broke out, it was fine if they did not enter the human realm. But once they entered the human realm, the Great Xia Prefecture could instantly react and turn into a city of war. As for Daming Prefecture, it was probably very, very difficult. After paying 350,000 merit points, Hu Xianqing turned around and left. He could not bear to part with them. Suyu did not bother about him. At this moment, he only had 20,000 merit points left. He had 70,000 merit points left. He was able to earn money quickly and spend it quickly as well. He had spent 350,000 merit points in one go. Huang Feng was rather normal. It was fine if he had sold it, but she did not care too much about it. Before she left, she said, "School starts today. If there's nothing else, you can go to the teaching area tomorrow and participate in the academy assembly. You can get to know your classmates and teachers in the future. In addition, the academy will assign some missions to you to see if you want to accept some and help the academy complete some missions. There will be corresponding rewards." "Alright, thank you, Teacher Huang." "You're welcome." Huang Feng smiled and said, "It's a good thing that you bought the research institute. If you don't buy it now, the principal will be wasted on it. Now that he has stopped thinking about it, it's time for him to cultivate. Even if he doesn't enter the sun and moon, he might not be able to live for many years." Suyu nodded and thought for a moment before saying, "Then there's no sun and moon in Daming Prefecture for the Multi-Divine Literature Department?" "No." Huang Feng smiled and said, "The Multi-Divine Literature Department of the Great Xia Prefecture is the strongest. The other large manors are weaker. The Great Xia Prefecture is the source, including the dean. In fact, he also studied at the Great Xia Prefecture in the past and followed the first generation of the Great Xia Prefecture's dean. Only then did the Multi-Divine Literature Department spread. Now, even the Great Xia Mansion was in such a state, let alone other places. As he spoke, Huang Feng reminded him, I know that you came from the Great Xia mansion and are very concerned about the Battle of Dan Duo. Here. I still hope that you can adjust your attitude and not provoke the single divine literature department. There's no need. If you don't provoke them, they won't bother with you. In addition, it doesn't matter if you want to kill your way back to the Great Xia mansion or not. The most important thing right now is to improve yourself. Your strength, knowledge, and ability all need to be improved. This is the route. Su Yu hurriedly said, teacher's reminder is that I will distinguish my priorities. Huang Feng nodded, turned around, and walked to the door. After thinking for a moment, she turned around and said, there's one more thing. The Daming Mansion is peaceful. Some students may also want to make some changes. If you recruit people, perhaps there will be people who will follow you. However, I hope that you can think well and be responsible for their future and lives. Although Daming Manor has all sorts of drawbacks, in Daming Manor, they are peaceful, comfortable, and live a long life. We know that there are many problems with this, but we still hope that these days can last longer. Su Yu's expression was serious as he nodded. Teacher, don't worry. I will know what to do. Huang Feng smiled. Then you can do your best. If you need anything else, you can look for me anytime. After sending Huang Feng away, Su Yu sat on the stone bench on the first floor. He listened to the sound of flowing water and looked at the sky. He smiled. It was a pretty good place. With a casual toss, the waterman appeared and his shadow also appeared. Su Yu smiled and said, check to see if there's anyone holding back. This place can be considered our lair. On the other side, the little fur ball was still playing with a few rabbits. Su Yu did not bother with it and quickly said, I'll go and fetch the swan Ni and the mountain ox in the afternoon. Guarding the door is also good, although it's a little weak. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1119. 1119 Chapter 268 Old Friends from Other Lands 4. The shadow said faintly, Sire, then the Great Xia Manor, do we still need to go back? Su Yu did not say anything. Shui Ren and the shadow also fell silent. Su Yu was silent for a while before saying, you don't need to worry about this. When I reach the Shanghai realm, I won't need you guys anymore. At that time, I will send you guys away. Consider it my promise and reward. Sir, you're exaggerating. Su Yu said calmly, there's no need to say that. No one doesn't want to go home. No matter how good a foreign land is, it's not their home. You were originally captured by my grandmaster, and you've all committed some sins. All these years, you've been imprisoned and taken blood as atonement. Whether it's resentment in your heart, when we reach the mountain and sea realm, everything will be settled. Thank you, my lord. The two of them thanked him. Su Yu smiled and did not say anything else. At the same time, outside the city gates of the capital city, a travel-worn figure appeared. He was riding on an earth dragon beast. His face was gray. He raised his head to look at the three big words, capital city, and muttered, we're here. I've arrived at the capital city. My luck isn't bad. There wasn't much danger along the way. To think that others said that there were so many dangers, but I still managed to reach it. When he reached the city gate, many people looked at this travel-worn figure. Which wilderness did he crawl out from? It was all dirty. Stop, where's the pass? The city guard shouted. On the earth dragon beast, the dirty Wulon took out a document and threw it out. Big brother, how do I get to Daming Civilization University? The soldier looked at the document and was a little surprised. Transfer student. Enter the city and walk straight for about 10 kilometers. Turn left and ask someone when you get there. It's very close to Daming Civilization University. Thank you. Wu Lan waved her hand and got the document. With a laugh, the earth dragon beast sprinted and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The soldier was surprised. She came from the great Xia mansion alone. She was too bold. It was very dangerous on the road. In the next moment, a figure appeared in front of him. It was a beautiful young woman. The woman frowned and her brows relaxed. She smiled and said, "Can you contact Zhu Hongwen? I'm Wu Qi from the Wu family of the Great Xia Mansion." Wu Qi. The soldier seemed to have heard of this name. His eyes moved and in the next moment, a Lingyun realm powerhouse rushed over. He smiled from afar and said, "It's Miss Wu. What brings researcher Wu here?" Wu Qi smiled faintly and said, "I'm passing by. I have something I want to talk to Zhu Hongwen about." "Miss Wu, please." That person was extremely polite. He was the genius of the Wu family. He had already received news that he had killed 3 Lingyun realm experts in the heavenly battlefield with a single sword strike. His reputation instantly spread across the heavenly battlefield. He had single-handedly fought against a 3rd-level Lingyun realm expert of the God clan. He was not at a disadvantage and even had a slight advantage. As for her, she had only just entered the Lingyun realm. This person had actually come to Daming Mansion. A moment later, Zhu Hongwen, the eldest grandson of Zhu Tiandao, personally walked out from outside the palace gates of the Zhu family mansion of Daming Mansion. He looked at Wu Qi with a smile and exclaimed, "Wu Qi. You're a rare guest. I'm flattered that you actually came to look for me." In the Great Xia Mansion, Wu Qi's generation was also the Golden Generation. Huang Teng from Zhanjin College, Wu Qi, Xia Yuan, Bai Feng from Civilization College. They were all famous geniuses who spread across several manors. Although Xia Yuan was defeated by Bai Feng and had calmed down a lot recently, he was not really weak. He was also a famous expert who had killed many Lingyun realm experts in the heavenly battlefield. Needless to say, Bai Feng was not famous before. However, after he defeated Xia Yuan, he became famous. Wu Qi was already famous when he was in the recuperation stage. He had once killed a genius of the demon race, sucked the blood of the demon race, and forged the body of a god and demon. Now, he was even more famous when he went to the heavenly battlefield and killed Lingyun alone. Of course, the most famous one was still Huang Teng. A monster. Lingyun was at level 4. A few days ago, he had just killed a level 7 Lingyun expert. He was not from a weak race, but a genius expert of the god race. His reputation had already spread throughout the heavenly battlefield and he was known as Xia Longwu's second. It was rumored that the Xia family intended to nurture Huang Teng, and the next general of the demon suppression army was likely to be taken over by Huang Teng. To Huang Teng, who had just graduated a few years ago, this was simply a heaven-defying act. Even though Zhu Hongwen was Zhu Tiandao's eldest grandson and an invincible descendant, at this moment, when he saw Wu Qi, he did not look down on him in the slightest. He was very serious. A top-notch genius from the Great Xia Manor could practically sweep away those of the same level in other big manors. Wu Qi revealed a smile. "I didn't expect your Highness Hongwen to still remember me. We met once 8 years ago. It's a little rude of you to bother me now." "Don't say that." Before he could finish his sentence, Wu Qi went straight to the point. "I'm here to escort my younger sister. This girl isn't sensible. She insisted on changing schools and transferred to the Daming Civilization Institute. She doesn't know that the outside world is in danger and thinks that her family is everywhere. I'm here to ask your Highness for a favor." "Your younger sister transferred to Daming Civilization University?" Zhu Hongwen was surprised. There was such a thing. Wu Qi said with a headache, "Yes, even the family couldn't persuade her. There was no other way. This was the only way." She really thought of herself as a genius researcher. She felt that she was the one who created the fusion aperture technique. Su Yu came here and left her. He couldn't create another technique, so he volunteered to build another immortal soul research institute. Zhu Hongwen was surprised. Your sister and Su Yu. Wu Qi's expression was unsightly as she said, a normal classmate relationship. My sister is too naive and was bewitched by Su Yu. Su Yu, that B*****. Before he left, he gave his sister a set of cultivation techniques to unlock 72 apertures. He said that he would give his sister a reward for solving 5 difficult problems, and that she would receive a salary for solving more than 300 difficult problems. He ran away happily. His sister was so stubborn. When he thought about how he owed her 300 or so difficult problems, Su Yu definitely couldn't do without her help. She actually wanted to come to Daming Manor. Wu Qi was about to die from anger. Zhu Hongwen's gaze was strange. The Wu family was really willing. Wu Qi's younger sister actually followed them from thousands of miles away. Was she going to give herself up? As he thought about it, he smiled and said, I know what you mean. Don't worry. Since your younger sister has come to Daming Manor, she is my guest. I will make arrangements. I will not let anyone bully your younger sister. The Wu family was also a top-tier large family. Sun Moon expert, Mountain Sea expert, genius Wu Qi. They were all experts. Zhu Hongwen instantly had countless thoughts. If he could drag the Wu family all the way to Daming Manor, would the great Xia Manor have Wu Di personally kill him and fall out with him? He was tempted, but unfortunately, he did not dare to do so. Of course, if the Wu family moved over, then there would be no problem. Wu Qi was a genius. If he were to marry into the Zhu family, it had to be said that this thought flashed through his mind. Zhu Hongwen's heart moved slightly, but he did not dare to mention it. He heard that this woman was very valiant. She killed without batting an eye, sucked the blood of the demons, and bit off the other party's throat. That was also extremely terrifying. He felt a little guilty. He did not want to be found out and be cut down by a sword. Wu Qi did not care too much and smiled, then thank you, Your Highness. In a year or so, the Starry Sky Mansion will open. If Your Highness needs help, Wu Qi will definitely lend a hand. That would be great. Thank you, thank you. Zhu Hongwen thanked him. With the help of Wu Qi, the safety of the Starry Sky Mansion would be greatly guaranteed. Wu Qi also smiled and looked into the distance where the Daming Civilization Academy was located. His face instantly darkened. Su Yu. Just you wait. If you go to the Xingyu residence in a year's time, I'll teach you a lesson. I knew that you weren't a good person and were just like Lu Hong. I didn't expect you to seduce my sister and really betray her. From the Great Xia residence, you came to the Daming residence. This Daming Manor was a place where one had to leave their hometown. Unless it was a last resort, which genius would come here? Damn it! Wu Qi was furious. All he knew was to seduce my sister with something. Shameless fellow. Just like that Lu Laoshi of yours, you seduced my great-aunt into a trap. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1120. 1120 Chapter 269 Old Friends, Probing 1. Daming Institute of Civilization. Polytheistic Institute. A few students who had returned from watching the big ball saw the dirty figure. Seeing her looking around, they asked curiously, "Hello, who are you looking for?" "This is the Institute of Civilization, you are here to." He was too embarrassed to say, "Are you here to pick up trash?" Was she a student or someone from the outside? It wasn't that easy to sneak in, even though the administration of the institute was lax. Wu Lan raised her head and looked at him. She quickly made a judgment. How weak. Are you from the Polytheistic Institute of Literature? Yes. Do you know how to get to the Primordial Spirit Research Institute? Primordial Spirit Research Institute. This person was stunned for a moment. The next moment, he quickly said, "Are you here to look for Su Yu?" "Yes." This senior sized up Wu Lan from head to toe, feeling strange in his heart. This Su Yu really had an extraordinary taste. Cough cough, which building are you from? What? Your side, the latest recruitment plan. What? Wu Lan looked at him and frowned. What was he talking about? Was this person sick? I'm the leader of the Primordial Spirit Research Institute's Gang Jian group. I'm here to look for Su Yu. Do you know where he is? If you don't know, forget it. Leader of the assault team. The senior smiled ambiguously. All right, I know where he is. If nothing goes wrong, he's at the Manifestation Research Institute. I'll bring you there. TSK, Junior Su is indeed extraordinary. He's from the Great Xia Manor, and he has a unique taste. The senior smiled and led Wu Lan, who was still somewhat at a loss, towards that direction. On the way, they met a few classmates. Very quickly, everyone followed them to send them off. They went to watch the show. Who would have thought? Su Yu had come to Daming Manor without a sound. After staying here for a few days, he had nothing else to do but to acknowledge her presence. This girl, after washing herself clean, she should be pretty good looking, right? This was a new way of playing. A moment later, Su Yu was forced to leave the house due to the noise outside. The first thing he did was not recognize Wu Lan. When he saw her posture, and voice, he was stunned. At this moment, Wu Lan was a little angry. She said angrily, "How dare you insult me?" At this moment, her long sword was floating in the air. Her face was filled with anger. Although this anger was covered by the dust, it could still be seen from her anger. Su Yu frowned slightly and said, "Wu Lan, why are you here?" Wu Lan turned her head and saw Su Yu. She instantly felt like she was about to collapse. She was extremely aggrieved. "Su Yu, you said that I would come, so I came. In the end, when I came in, these guys insulted me." Huh? Su Yu was stunned for a moment. "When did I ask you to come?" Of course, this was not the time to ask these questions. He looked at those students and frowned slightly. The student who had led the way earlier now had an awkward expression on his face. He hurriedly said, "Junior brother Su, it's a misunderstanding." "It's really a misunderstanding. We don't have any bad intentions. This junior sister just came. She didn't say who she was and just said that she was looking for you. Didn't we think that you just came to Daming Prefecture and don't know any people?" As he said that, he said in an extremely awkward manner, "It was just a joke. If it's really a joke, we apologize." These few students were also embarrassed and hurriedly apologized. They were also a little afraid. They wouldn't offend this great demon king, right? Su Yu glanced at them and then looked at Wu Lan. He said indifferently, "It's fine. Pay attention next time. Senior brothers, it's better for you to cover up. If you don't cover up, it's easy to get into trouble." That was the bad thing about Daming Manor. They could think of romantic ideas for everything. He didn't ask, but he could roughly guess it. The few of them apologized and admitted their cowardice. At this moment, Wu Lan's anger had also dissipated. She snorted and ignored them. Su Yu said indifferently, "Seniors, I've troubled you to send her over. Sorry for the trouble." It's fine, it's fine." The few of them said hurriedly. Knowing that he had chased them away, they did not dare to watch the show anymore and left one after another. After they left, Wu Lan snorted, "A bunch of perverts. Do they really think that I don't know anything? They actually asked me how much money I had. If it was at the Great Xia Civilization Academy, I would have challenged them a long time ago." They were very angry. Su Yu smiled bitterly. Very quickly, his emotions turned complicated again. Why are you here? Weren't you the one who hinted at me? When did I hint at you? Wulan said angrily, you don't want to admit it. You said it yourself. The next cultivation technique will be under my name. Also, you gave me the cultivation technique and made me continue to be the leader of the assault team. Didn't you specifically hint at me to come over? You're not admitting to it now. Do you want to change your name? You don't want to use my name anymore. Su Yu's heart was tired. Did I hint? You imagined it yourself, all right. You came alone. Yes. Wulan raised her head and said proudly, I came alone. From the great Xia mansion all the way here, I killed demons and devils, but I couldn't even withstand a single blow. Su Yu had too many things to say and wanted to ask. You came alone, and you actually came alive. Are you King kidding me? Su Yu sensed his surroundings, but he did not see any members of the Wu family. He asked with a complicated expression, you came, but you did not encounter any soaring demon clan? No. Could it be that there are soaring demon clan members on the road? Yes. Su Yu wanted to say, forget it, forget it. You did not even encounter any soaring demon clan members on the thousands of miles of road. I don't believe it. Who in the Wu family is secretly protecting her? Come in. Why are you so dirty? It's all because of you. Wulan said angrily, you didn't call me when you left. Later, something happened and I found out that you ran to Daming Prefecture. I still had to go through the transfer procedures. It took me a few days and then I kept walking to Daming Prefecture. I only arrived after walking for 7 or 8 days. There was no place to take a bath on the way. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1121. 1121 Chapter 269 Old Friends, Probing 2. 7 to 8 days. At this moment, Su Yu did not know what to say. Lowering his head, he led her into the door and whispered, where are you staying tonight? Wulan was pleased with herself, do you think I'll stay in the wilderness? TSK, I've learned a lot of knowledge about survival in the wilderness. I can't stay in places with water, I can't light a bonfire at night, I can't eat cooked food, it's best not to stay in forests, and I can't enter caves. I'll find an empty place at night, a place where I can run, a place where the ground is dry. All of you live outside. Are you stupid? Living in the city, how can you travel back and forth? As she spoke, Wulan walked into the research institute. She was a little surprised. She looked at the sky and asked curiously, I thought you would live here in a shabby place, but you actually live here. Is it yours? Yes, the new Primordial Spirit Research Institute. You bought it? Yes. Did you borrow money? No. Wulan did not ask any more questions. She glanced at the courtyard on the first floor and asked curiously, where is the research institute? Upstairs. Do you want to start the research now? Su Yu's heart was tired. What research? He had not started anything. If he wanted to start the research as soon as he arrived, what research would he do? When he was in the Primordial Spirit Research Institute, he only asked him to look up information. Could it be that he really had a talent for research and deduction? Thousands of miles. From the Great Xia Mansion to the Tiandu Mansion, Su Yu rode on the Swan Ni for several days. Wulan had walked for 7 or 8 days, but she had probably never rested. She traveled in a straight line, looking travel-worn. Sleeping in the wilderness at night, had she ever gone out alone? Under the night sky, the wild beasts and demonic beasts around her roared. Was she afraid? Did she feel uncomfortable if she did not wash up for a few days and nights? At this moment, Su Yu thought a lot. He didn't say a word and didn't want to say anything. Let's go up and take a bath. Are you hungry? A little. I didn't bring enough food. However, I killed a few small demon beasts, but they didn't taste good when roasted. They were too fishy and didn't taste at all. Because you didn't bring any seasoning. Suyu couldn't help but laugh. He really thought that demon beast meat could be eaten after it was roasted. It was too normal for it to have a fishy smell. Go wash up. Oh. Wu Lan replied and quickly said, I didn't bring any clothes. Suyu was helpless. Did you come empty-handed? No, I brought my merit card and identification card. Are you stupid? If you come empty-handed, you won't be able to pass some checkpoints on the way. Alright, I'm stupid. Having been taught a lesson by this fool and despised, Suyu was also very helpless. Alright, I'll go out and buy you a few clothes. As he spoke, he observed Wu Lan's figure and roughly got a good look. He turned around and walked away. As he walked, he said, Don't run around. I haven't even figured out this place myself. Be careful of any traps. Got it. Wu Lan was not shy at all and did not stand on ceremony. She directly walked upstairs. Suyu quickly left the research institute. Outside the research institute, Suyu rubbed his cheeks. At this moment, he didn't know how to express his emotions. Wu Lan actually followed him. It was beyond his expectations. Not only did she come, but from what she said, it meant that she had changed schools. The Wu family should know about it, right? She was allowed to come just like that. As he was walking out, Suyu instantly raised his head. In front of him, a familiar figure stood. Suyu heaved a sigh of relief and stepped forward. He bowed slightly and said, Greetings, Teacher Wu. Wu Qi looked at him for a long time. He said calmly, My younger sister is a little straightforward. She has little experience and is stubborn. Her family originally didn't agree to her coming, but she is stubborn. My great-aunt encouraged her to come. I know what she is thinking. After saying that, he looked at Suyu. He said calmly, There are some things that can't be forced. It's best to let nature take its course. My sister's thoughts aren't that complicated. She just feels that she should come since she promised you. And you might not have that kind of thoughts either. Since she's here, you can just be an additional assistant. There's no need to think too much about anything else. Wu Lan doesn't represent the Wu family either. Even though the Wu family has long been viewed as the support of the multi-god literature faction because of teacher Lu Wenyan. Suyu, I don't know if you're even a little touched, or if you're impatient. I only hope that you won't let my sister get involved in this conflict. Suyu said in a low voice, Suyu doesn't have any intentions of implicating anyone. I know. Wu Qi suddenly said helplessly, I know, but I still want to say. Wu Lan is an idiot. She doesn't understand, but I understand that you haven't given up. You still want to return to the Great Xia Manor. Not only do you want to return, but you also have the mind to take revenge and even participate in Teacher Lu's matter. Suyu, you have to know that the matter 50 years ago was far more complicated than you imagined. Wu Qi was terrified. There are some things that I can participate in. My great-aunt can, and the rest of the Wu family can. However, my sister can't. She's too idiotic. She doesn't even know what she has to face, and we all know that. She knew, and Wu Yuehua knew. It was precisely because she knew that there was no problem for her to participate. As for Wu Lan, she did not understand. Suyu took a deep breath. I understand. How about this? I'll find an opportunity to chase her away. Wu Qi did not say anything. After a while, she said in a low voice, Thank you. Of course. Suyu did not say anything else. Wu Qi handed him a storage ring. This belongs to my sister. Tell her that we asked someone to bring it here. When she left, she did not bring anything. She was so silly. Wu Qi smiled bitterly and quickly said, she has never suffered like this since she was young. It's good too. This time, let her understand that the outside world is not so beautiful. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1122. 1122 Chapter 269, Old Friend, Probing 3. She's very brave. Suyu said that it was very brave. Wu Lan, who had never gone far before, had traveled thousands of miles by herself. She was still alone in the wilderness. Suyu could feel that kind of fear. Because he was also terrified. That day, when he went down south from Mount Xinglua alone and walked in the deserted wilderness, he also had some hesitation. In fact, he was a little better. At least he had a few demon beasts accompanying him. He knew that Director Ho was following him in the dark. As for Wu Lan, she did not know anything. Wu Qi smiled. Because the people of the Wu family are brave in their bones. She is also a member of the Wu family. As I said, just because she hasn't experienced much doesn't mean that she is an idiot. Although she already felt that she was an idiot, Wu Qi still defended her sister at this moment. Suyu nodded. Wu Qi smiled again. Actually, that's good too. The environment of the Great Xia Manor was a little harsh. It might not be suitable for her. The Daming Manor was fine, but it was too far away from home. Suyu, I have to leave immediately. During this period of time. I'll have to trouble you to take care of her for me. All right. Wu Qi nodded and did not say anything else. She turned around and left. After walking for a while, she suddenly turned around and said, I'm afraid that you won't be returning to the Great Xia Manor for a short period of time. I hope to see you during the trip to the Starry Manor. I will. Suyu smiled and said, definitely. Wu Qi did not stay any longer and quickly left. Suyu smiled. Wu Qi was a ruthless person. He had heard about the Starry Manor for a long time. He hoped that he would have the chance to visit it. Would his teacher have the qualifications to go when the time came? Back at the research institute. Wu Lan had already washed up. At this moment, she was wearing clothes that were still dirty, but her face was clean. Seeing that Suyu had returned, she threw away the little fur ball and stood up. She clapped her hands and said, Suyu, when will you start deducing the unity spirit method? There's no rush. Suyu smiled and handed the storage ring to her. Your family asked someone to bring it over. I ran into it when I went out. Oh. Wu Lan did not mind. She took the storage ring and said casually, I'm not a child anymore. I brought a merit card. If I have money, I can buy it myself. Why did you bring me something? You are a kid. Suyu was powerless to complain. He did not care about the consequences. He had traveled thousands of miles and yet, you came alone. If Wu Qi did not protect you in secret, it would be strange for you to be here. Suyu did not say much after thinking about it. However, he still reminded her, you are lucky. This time, it was probably because we went down south and killed those demon beasts. That's why no soaring tear appeared. If it were any other time, you would have been eaten by the demon beasts long ago. You don't know how dangerous it is. If this continues the next time, if there's no one guarding in the dark, won't you be finished? Do you think I'm an idiot? Wu Lan was displeased, but Suyu didn't say anything, did he? I brought my treasure. I just didn't use it. Wu Lan said proudly, I didn't meet those demonic beasts either. If I did, they'd be dead for sure. When I left, I went to Great Ant's pill refining room and took away all the poison. Any demonic beasts that come close to me would be poisoned to death. She looked very proud. Do you think I'm stupid? I brought some good stuff with me, so I took precautions. Unfortunately, I didn't use it on the way. Otherwise, I would have dragged a few demonic beasts over this time and let you see how powerful I am. Suyu smiled and said, that's good. But even if it's poison, it still takes time. Some things come out in an instant. You might not be able to use it in time. Don't be too careless, or else people will die. Got it. Wu Lan was not happy. Didn't I not encounter it? After replying, Wu Lan quickly said excitedly, Suyu, you don't know. Before I left, I did something. You definitely won't believe it. What? I beat Xia-chan up. What the hell? Isn't she only from the Divine Literature department? Their department is too disgusting. Wu Lan said excitedly, that's why when I left, I learned from you. I ambushed Xia-chan at the entrance of the city lord's mansion. I suddenly knocked her out and beat her up before running away. Holy sh*t. Suyu looked at her in a daze. Are you serious? What's wrong? Wu Lan smiled and said, Xia-chan is too stupid. She thought that I was going to shake her hand. She was still 10,000 stones, but I knocked her out. Suyu was speechless. Xia-chan probably did not expect that you would sneak attack her, right? And it was at her doorstep. You beat up Lord Xiaoho's granddaughter, so the Wu family will protect you. Otherwise, just wait for your bad luck. However, it had to be said that Xia-chan was quite careless. She was actually ambushed by Wu Lan. Did Wu Lan have combat strength? After thinking about it, she might still have it. She had reached the peak of recuperation. The 6th stage of Qianjun. Speaking of which, she still had some combat strength. By the way, senior sister Wuxia also wanted to leave with me, but Director Chen didn't allow her to come. Wu Lan sighed and said, otherwise, if I were to go with her, the assault team would have people. Suyu couldn't help but laugh and said, change your clothes and I'll take you out to eat. We'll talk later. All right. Wu Lan did not say anything else and quickly went upstairs. A moment later, Wu Lan went downstairs. She said hurriedly, why are there women's clothes in the room upstairs? Suyu, you're so perverted. You've only been in Daming Manor for a few days, and you've already turned evil. Innocent. Suyu was also speechless. I just took over this research institute. I didn't even understand the situation myself. It should be the previous owners. Hu Xiansheng was really something. He was already a few hundred years old, and he was really in love. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1123. 1123 Chapter 269, Old Friends, Probing asks for a subscription, 4. He had changed everything upstairs. As he walked out, Suyu asked, have you signed up? Yes. Single Divine Arts College. No, many Divine Arts Colleges. Wu Lan said casually, those who signed up asked me which one to sign up for, so I told them that I would be with you. Anyway, I'm a good-natured person, so I can sign up for anything. Alright, that wasn't important. Where do you live? The Research Institute. I want to live there too, do you know that? At the Great Xia Manor, Wu Lan often stayed at the Research Institute. After all the things in the villa had been moved away. The key point was that there were quite a number of people living there at that time. Suyu spent most of his time cultivating. But over here, there were only the two of them. It's not too convenient, is it? Just the two of us. Your thoughts are filthy. Wu Lan scolded, as a researcher, you've only been here for a few days, and you're already thinking about all this nonsense. Your thoughts are impure. How are you going to conduct your research? Holy shit. I've been lectured by you again. This big fool Wu was trembling now. He didn't refute her. She had traveled thousands of miles to look for him, so it wasn't appropriate for her to scold him back just because of this. On the way, she ran into a few other classmates. When they saw him and Wulan walking together, many of them revealed curious expressions. However, they did not go forward to ask. Instead, they whispered something to each other. Wulan did not care about these things. She would just pretend that she did not see them. She had always been like this. Those who she did not want to see did not exist. Those who were weak did not exist either. She could ignore some of the people in front of her, even if they were very big. Suyu didn't mind. He asked the others and knew where the restaurant was. As he walked, he asked, "When you came, how were my senior sister and uncle master?" "Pretty good." Director Chen became Shanghai City and became a pavilion elder. Wulan smiled. Furthermore, the single god language faction was unlucky. Pavilion Elder's son was killed, Pavilion Elder Yu and Pavilion Elder Li were killed, and Pavilion Elder Ma and Pavilion Elder Fong were sent to the Shanghai camp. Now that Pavilion Elder Fong is back, Director Zhou is still in seclusion. As she said that, she quickly said, "Now, the single Divine One faction doesn't even have a mountain in sea anymore. It's a mess." Suyu smiled and said, "Serves you right. But didn't they say that Elder Fong is back? He's still on the way. When I left, they said that Elder Fong is back. They don't need time. Then who is in charge of the single Divine One faction?" "I don't know, Teacher Lu Hong." Wulan didn't care too much about these things. She chuckled and said, "I don't care about them. These people are too evil. They can't beat you, but they actually sent mountains and seas to kill you and the Sun and Moon Department. How shameless." After saying that, she asked curiously, "How are you so powerful? You can even kill Ling Yun. Innate blood essence. Oh, then you don't have this. Can you beat Ling Yun?" "Difficult, unless it's the most trashy." Wulan was a little dejected. "Why are you improving so quickly? We're all upper-class students." She had always wanted to give Suyu a beating. Suyu was also a little absent-minded. Very quickly, he smiled and said, "My innate talent is too strong. There's nothing I can do about it." These few days, he did not know many people in Daming Mansion. He rarely chatted with them. At this moment, he finally had an acquaintance, so he spoke a few more words. Perhaps this was the feeling of meeting an old friend in a foreign land. There was no need to be hypocritical and they chatted casually. Wulan could be considered as the first disciple of the great Xia prefecture that he knew, right? Wulan did not have such feelings. She had not spoken for a few days and now, she was also chattering, "Suyu, when are we going to deduce the Unity God technique? Also, if the deduction is successful, what name are you going to give it? You have to add the word Lan. You agreed to it yourself." "All right." Suyu smiled and said, "Soon. After I settle down and get ready, we will start preparing. Of course, there's no rush. After all, we haven't reached that stage yet. Even if we want to deduce the Unity God technique, we have to take it slowly." "Okay." Wulan responded and entered a restaurant. The environment was especially good. Suyu asked for a private room and watched Wulan gulp down the food. He always wanted to laugh. "Why are you always looking at me? Aren't you going to eat?" "I'm going to eat." Suyu quickly ate as well. Wulan's mouth was puffy as she ate. She said vaguely, "Suyu, let me tell you, don't think that you are the only one who is amazing. I didn't come to Daming Manor to look for you to bask in your glory. I am confident. Yes, you are very amazing. Of course." Wulan said excitedly, "Let me tell you, when I came here, my great-grandmother gave me a super encyclopedia that can solve all kinds of problems. My great-grandmother said that this is a family heirloom of the Wu family, and it is priceless." "That's amazing. Your great-grandmother came out of seclusion?" "Yes, she came out of seclusion. She was going to help you beat Principal Zhou up, but he didn't come out. Then, help me thank your great-grandmother. Suyu burst into laughter. Beat up my ass. Zhou Mingren's side wasn't easy to deal with. Thinking of this, Suyu said, after I left, did the Myriad clan cult and the Great Zhou Manor make any movements? I don't think so. Wu Lan said uncertainly, I don't think so. I'm not too sure. Right, Manor Head Wan has been removed from his position as Manor Head and is now acting Manor Head. Then, I heard that someone at the seeking stage seemed to have arranged for a Sun and Moon Realm Manor Head to take over as Vice Manor Head and also to replace Manor Head Wan. Really? Suyu was surprised. Stop fooling around. Is this for real? I think so. I don't know if it's real or not. Also, there's going to be a Sun Moon Realm Master from the Nine Heavens Academy. A single divine language master. Are you stupid? Of course. There aren't any Sun Moon Realm experts in the Divine Language Master. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1124. 1124 Chapter 269, Old Friends, Probing 5. That seemed to be the case. Even if there were, they wouldn't be able to become the manor head. Suyu was puzzled. Was it the Great Zhou Manor's idea, or was it the Search Realm's idea, and the Xia family didn't stop them? Or was there some secret agreement? After all, they had killed too many single divine when experts in one go, so the Xia family still had to ease up their relationship. Killing them was to intimidate them. But after that, they had to be gentler. They could not blindly resist the single divine one, or else it would add to the trouble. One tightening and one loosening, both to intimidate the opponent and to appease the other. This way, they would be able to prepare for Xia Longwu's Dao attainment. Of course, whether it would be useful or not, this was still up for discussion. Wu Lan's mouth was bulging from eating. She was a little hungry. The food from Daming Manor seemed to be quite delicious. As she ate, she said, there's one more thing. There's a guy from the Great Zhou Prefecture. He seems to be a genius. When I left, I was almost at the Great Xia Prefecture. Many people were talking about him. On the way there, he kept saying that he wanted to cause trouble for you. Your teacher killed his grandfather. Suyu raised his eyebrows and said, cause trouble for me. I'm not soaring in the sky. I know that person. He has the strength of a soaring in the sky realm. Could it be that he wants to come to Daming Prefecture to challenge me? I don't know, is there a soaring realm in Daming Prefecture's Many Divine Languages Department? Suyu was slightly shocked. After a long while, he frowned and said, there is. In that case, it was really possible for the other party to come to Daming Prefecture. Wu Lan said disapprovingly, then he definitely has to come. I heard that he challenged many experts of the Many Divine Languages Department on his way here and defeated many people. He went all the way south from the Great Zhou residence. Many places of the Many Divine Languages Department were beaten up by him until they shut themselves down. Now, there is no one from the Many Divine Languages Department to make a sound. Suyu frowned and quickly relaxed his brows. Whatever. It's fine if he doesn't come, but if he comes, then he can take it easy on himself. He was not afraid of the other party. At the very most, he would not accept the challenge. He was cultivating his character, not soaring into the sky. If he had the ability, he could go find his teacher. Wasn't Bai Feng soaring into the sky? He was in the vanguard battalion of the heavenly battlefield. Go. Shan Tianhao's grandson. Shan Tianhao was killed by Lu Wenyan's axe. Suyu did not sympathize with the other party either. He deserved to be hacked to death. He had come from the Great Zhou Manor to stir up trouble. If he had been killed, he would have been killed. Suyu still had to bear a grudge against them. If he had died, he would have died. He had even caused Lu Wenyan to be sent to the vanguard camp of the heavenly battlefield. In addition, this fellow had gone all the way south to challenge those who specialized in the many divine languages. He was very arrogant. Just as Su Yu was thinking about this, he heard a commotion coming from downstairs. He cocked his ear to listen, and the next moment, he heard someone shouting, "Big news, the head of the Niu family has returned. Not only has he returned, I heard that the Seeker Realm has even arranged for a deputy head of the Niu family to come along with him." Seeker Realm? That's right. What's the matter? Hasn't it been a long time since anyone at the Seeker Realm has come to our academy? Who knows? As he said this, Su Yu frowned. What did he mean? Did he follow me here, or was it meant to be like this? As he was thinking, the next moment, another person shouted, "This is huge news. The news just now is outdated. The new deputy prefect has yet to take up his post and has just entered the city. He stepped into a trap set by someone and his leg was broken. I heard that he is going back to the Quest Realm to treat his leg." Su Yu was stunned. What was going on? Are you King kidding me? The deputy prefect is at least at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. His leg was broken. At the same time, Tiandu Manor, at the city gate. An old man supported a middle-aged man and sighed, "It's over, it's over. Which bastard placed a hunting trap here? This is to catch sun and moon demons. It's over, I can't take this leg." The middle-aged man's expression turned cold. He looked at the broken leg and didn't say a word. The old man sighed. "I didn't treat you well. Don't mind it. Old he, next time, be careful when you walk. Manor Head Nyo, the Tiandu Manor is really a tiger's den. I just arrived." As the middle-aged man spoke, the ground exploded with a bang. The old man quickly fled. Just as the middle-aged man was about to leave, a defensive barrier suddenly rose around him. With a bang, the middle-aged man's entire body trembled from the explosion. In the next moment, he let out a sharp cry. His entire body was crawling with densely packed bugs. The old man quickly returned and cursed, "Which bastard did this? What do you mean? I've just returned, and you're torturing us like this? Look at the injuries on old he. It's over. He's about to take office. If that's the case, how can he take office? His injuries are too severe, send him back to the Quest Realm to recuperate." Old he's willpower erupted. Just as he was about to shatter the bugs, his body suddenly went soft. In the next moment, his vision turned black, the old man beside him sighed. "It's over. He's about to die. He's been poisoned. God exterminating powder. It's over. If he really dies, it'll be hard to explain. Men, hurry up and send him to the Quest Realm. Tell him that Manorhead he fell into a trap due to carelessness and was almost poisoned to death. Hurry up. If someone else dies, the Daming Manor will have to take the blame." "Yes, sir." In the next moment, someone responded. This old he was quickly lifted up and disappeared from the city gates in the blink of an eye. A moment later, the old man walked to the city lord's manor. Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, "Old Nyo, just bring him here. You brought him all the way here and insisted on bringing him into the city to scam him. Doesn't this show that I, Zhu Tiandao, am not hospitable?" Nyo Bendao chuckled and said, "Little brat, you don't know how to respect others. I'm even older than his father and have been nagging me all the way here. I'm really bored. There's no one else on the road, so it's not easy for me to teach him a lesson. What are you afraid of? Your father is the Darming King. It's not a big deal to kill him." As he said that, he frowned and said, "What's the meaning of seeking enlightenment realm? It's not enough to meddle in the matters of the great Xia Manor, but our Darming Manor also wants to meddle. Where's the Darming King? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1125. 1125 Chapter 269 Old Friend, Probing 6. He went to the heavenly battlefield. Zhu Tiandao smiled. Who knows what that means? Ignore him. The great Han King is now in charge of the realm of seeking enlightenment. However, he might not be in charge while he is in seclusion. It might be a group of second and third generation managers who have nothing to do. After saying that, he smiled and said, he might have followed Suyu here. Forget it, just send him away. Next time, don't throw all the blame at me. You can split yourself up halfway and pretend to be a great demon to attack him. Niu Bendao said seriously, how can I be that kind of person? Then how is that different from the Myriad Clan sect? Moreover, I'm at the scene. How am I going to explain that he was attacked? It's different in Daming Manor. There's still the manor head here. With one look, I know that the manor head has set him up. What can he say? Can he still find trouble with the manor head? I can't. There are quite a number of invincible descendants in the quest boundary. I can't afford to offend them. Zhu Tiandao was speechless. He couldn't be bothered to say anything else. He quickly said, send a reply to the quest realm. Tell them that this fellow has accidentally trespassed into a forbidden area. A sky-swallowing ant tide has recently appeared in that area. We are currently dealing with it. Ask the quest realm to send over tens of thousands of merit points. We need help. We have enough manpower. If we don't have enough money, we have to spend money. Manor head, isn't this going too far? Niu Baidao was astonished. You still want to scam money? It's not going too far. Zhu Tiandao chuckled and said, ask them to send the money. I'll add that if they don't send the money, this ant tide will spread to the quest realm, or even the Great Zhou Manor. Then, it will devour everything. Unrivaled will come out and settle it. We can't suppress it. Then what if the great Han King comes out to settle it? It's nothing. Can't you get someone to send some heaven-swallowing ants over? Zhu Tiandao said unhappily, what a simple matter. These people have nothing to do, yet they still want to interfere in the affairs of the Great Ming Manor. What are they thinking about? Also, tell them that the Great Ming Manor has begun to close up and lock up the manor. The Great Ming cavalry troops have retreated. The defensive positions of the Great Ming army in the Zhu Tian battlefield are no longer needed. We will just guard our own plot of land. Let Qiu Suijing arrange for his own people to defend. Oh right, we'll get 80% of the gains from defending. After all, we're the ones who set up the formation. It'll be a miracle if they agree. Zhu Tiandao didn't think much of it. If they don't agree, then forget it. If they don't agree, the next time they run into danger, the sky-swallowing ants will throw them everywhere. Just tell them to ask for support from Qiu Suijing. Also, tell them that I'm not going to be the manor head anymore. Later, I'll also ask for help from Qiu Suijing. When I become the master of Qiu Suijing, I'll participate in the election. If they don't give me this position, the Daming Manor won't pay a single cent in the future. Besides, if they don't give me this position, my father will withdraw to protect our homeland. Also, tell them that he guy broke our formation and needs 10 million merit points. Otherwise, they won't be able to fix it. Niu Bendao was speechless. If he said so much, it would be strange for the other party to agree. After thinking for a while, Niu Bendao smiled and said, your appetite is too big. I don't think it'll work. How about this? I'll send a message over. If you don't pay, I'll have Hu Xiansheng create a black hole in space and swallow them in the quest realm. What do you think? Zhu Tiandao was speechless. After a long while, he nodded and said, sure, let's do it. All right, I'll go then. That little bastard followed me all the way. I don't even have time to take a bath and experience the feelings of the people. I'll go first. Take it easy, you're already old. Healthier than you. The two of them joked with each other. Soon, Niu Bai Dao left. Zhu Tiandao laughed and was too bored. Which idiot is in charge of the quest realm now? Does he want to get involved in my territory? Did he really think that we were the Xia family? He yawned and soon. Zhu Tiandao said, Men, go and tell Suyu that someone is targeting him. For him, I paid 1 million merit points to send that guy away. But talking about money hurts feelings. Next time, remember to give priority to the Zhu family. The Zhu family is not short of money. Yes. Soon, someone responded and left. Zhu Tiandao laughed. A favor given for free was not given for free. Is it a test? He muttered. It was boring. Was it a test against the Daming Manor or against Suyu? Or, was it a test against me? I'm only at the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm and not long ago. If I don't reach the Tao, what's the point of testing me? Damn it, I'm already so weak. I'm despised by people every day. What's the point of testing me? I might not even be able to beat Xia Xiaoxi. I'll just keep an eye on the Xia and Zhou families. My old Zhu family is already in such a miserable state, yet you still want to test me. Sigh, the human heart is not ancient. Zhu Tiandao shook his head. I'm very weak, really. Even my father said I'm weak. Do you think I'm weak? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1126. 1126 Chapter 270 Chaos was gradually becoming apparent one. At this moment, within the Daming Civilization Academy, it was bustling with noise. Big news. The new deputy prefect had not even entered the door when he was crippled and sent away. How pitiful. How tragic. Wu Lan, who was eating, also heard the sounds from outside and gave a sympathetic sigh. It was quite pitiful. The deputy prefect, at the very least, was at the peak of the mountain in Sea Realm. He was actually crushed by a beast trap and had his leg broken. Wasn't this tragic? Not only tragic, it was also embarrassing. As for Suyu, he did not feel miserable. He only felt that the Daming Manor was truly bold. They did not give any face to those in the Chiu Suo realm. Who would believe that they had their leg broken? Who would be stupid to believe that? Chiu Suo realm. Suyu was also puzzled. What did Chiu Suo realm mean? Wasn't Chiu Suo realm a holy ground formed by all the invincible experts? The Darming King and the others were the mainstream. The Quest realm actually dared to come to old Zhu's house to meddle. Was he crazy, or did he feel that the Darming King was not the leader, so he did not need to give face? The great Xia King was actually the second leader of the War God Hall. The leader of the War God Hall was the great Qin King. However, the War God Hall did not have the guts to cause trouble in the Great Xia Manor. Not to mention how obedient they were, the War God Hall's emissaries were very obedient in the Great Xia Manor. There was almost no movement. How could a civilized master be so good at causing trouble? Suyu did not care anymore. The other party might not have come for him. He had caused quite a stir, but his true strength was here. In the eyes of many people, without using his innate blood essence, Suyu was a monster. At the very most, he could fight up to the 7th or 8th level of the soaring heaven tier. Even if he was a monster, there was no need to send experts to keep an eye on him. He might have come for someone. Unfortunately, he had just arrived when he was finished by old Zhu and the others. It was no wonder that Daming Manor could enjoy peace. They didn't give these guys any space to live. After eating, they went downstairs. The students were still discussing the 3 big news today. The first was that the big round bear had given birth, the second was that Suyu had entered the academy, and the third was that the vice principal's leg was broken. It was rare for there to be so much big news. The students of Daming Manor were also excited and kept discussing. Wu Lan listened to the commotion of those people and was a little puzzled. Don't they cultivate for class? Why did it feel like these people were so free? This is also a kind of cultivation. Suyu smiled and pointed at the senior sister who was still planting flowers. If nothing unexpected happens to that person, the divine language is related to flowers and plants. It doesn't seem to have any lethality. Given time, she can set up a plant territory. The lethality is definitely not weak. At this moment, Suyu gradually understood something. It was not that the civilized masters of Daming Prefecture did not cultivate, it was just that their methods were different. The corner of his mouth moved again. He pointed at a student fishing in the distance and said, "That person is indeed honing his willpower. In the water, there is a powerful demon beast to train with. This is also cultivation." Then, did my teacher who is riding on the firestorm wheels see it? That firestorm wheels are divine runes. The combination of several divine runes has already appeared. This person should be testing the effects. He might be improving the combination method. As soon as Suyu finished speaking, the old man who was riding on the wind flame wheel looked at him. He bared his teeth and smiled. In the next moment, he appeared in front of him. "Suyu, you are a genius of the divine runes department. You should have a lot of understanding towards the fusion of divine runes. If you don't mind, you can communicate with this old man at any time." Suyu smiled and said, "Definitely. Teacher, how many divine runes are combined into this wind flame wheel?" 3, wind, fire, and fast. The old man smiled and said, "The speed is not bad, and the lethality is not bad. However, I still feel that there is something missing, including the fusion. Actually, it is not that perfect. There will always be some conflicts within." The old man muttered, "I thought that after a long time, I could naturally get used to it. In the end, after a long time, I just did not get used to it successfully." Suyu smiled and said, "Wind can help the fire, but fire cannot help the wind. It's not very balanced. The fast divine text can't help balance it. Teacher, it's best if you can draw another divine text to help the wind. Otherwise, if the fire is too strong, the wind will be suppressed, and sooner or later, this balance will be broken. What you said makes sense." The old man sighed, "But we don't have many divine texts. Once we add more divine texts, even though we can still form a combination, we still have to spend a lot of energy to control the combination of divine texts. Who doesn't have a few divine texts? The divine runes battle technique is to take the initiative to confine the divine runes and form a whole. As for us, we need to use our willpower to control it. This makes us expend a lot of energy. In my opinion, 3 divine runes is the time to unleash the greatest power at this moment." Suyu nodded. That was true. Without the divine runes battle technique template, everyone could actually form a combination. However, forcefully combining was not fusing. This was not a combination of multiple divine runes, nor was it a divine runes battle technique. Without forming a template, these divine runes were repelling each other. The controller needed to suppress the repelling force and forcefully fuse them together. "Student Little Su, if you have time, you can communicate with me. This old man will take his leave first." The old man did not stay for long and quickly left. Wu Lan looked at Suyu strangely and said, "He is from the single divine literature department. You actually communicated with him?" Suyu smiled and said, "It's fine. I am not targeting the single divine literature department, but only a portion of the people. The Daming Manor does not have any interests or grudges with me. We can just communicate normally." Suyu said as he walked, "Next, our mission is not the God closing aperture technique, but the primordial spirit aperture. Su Yu's eyes moved slightly and said, "The primordial spirit aperture must exist." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1127. 1127 Chapter 270, Chaotic Signs 2. He was certain of this point. That day, he had opened 180 apertures, and indeed, he had a vague feeling about it. But he was still lacking. Where was the difference? The difference was that he did not have enough essence apertures and could not form a combination, resulting in this essence aperture not appearing. The current Su Yu had opened 346 apertures, and he was still short of 14 essence apertures. And this was already the entire Great Xia Mansion. The Great Xia Mansion's combat strength was considered strong, and they had many cultivation techniques, but they were unable to gather all of them. He did not know if the Great Ming Manor would be able to gather all 360 yuan apertures. Thinking of this, Su Yu said, "Wu Lan, you will need to focus on the next step. There are many books and cultivation techniques on the third floor. You will need to check them one by one, look them up, observe them, and help me find the apertures other than the 346 apertures of the Great Xia Manor." Wu Lan did not feel anything. Instead, she was very excited. She finally had something to do. "All right." As she spoke, she said, "Am I alone?" It was a little boring to work alone. No one could order her around. Su Yu smiled and said, "No, there's more. You can bring the Swan Ni and the Mountain Ox to work together. These two know the human language and their strength isn't that great. Then let's work." Wu Lan nodded, but she felt that these words were a little ambiguous. What did he mean by, "If their strength isn't that great, then let's work"? Was he talking about himself and those two demonic beasts? "What about you?" "I want to open the divine aperture first." Su Yu explained, "The opening of the primordial aperture is fast, but the opening of the divine aperture is slow. I need to open some divine apertures." Not only did he need to open the divine aperture, but he also needed to open some cultivation techniques to see if he could find some special primordial apertures. Su Yu had no hope of finding all the apertures in Daming Mansion. He needed to open all the essence apertures and mind apertures as soon as possible, sketch out a batch of divine inscriptions, and enter the soaring realm. Su Yu and Wu Lan did not delay. They returned to the research institute. Su Yu briefly tidied up, threw away old Hu's random things, and began to prepare. He was busy until late at night when Su Yu began to cultivate. He opened his mind aperture, read a book, and sketched out the divine inscriptions. Unfortunately, there was no Sea of Consciousness mystic realm here, nor was there a fragment room. Tomorrow, he still had to inquire about the situation and how the Great Ming Mansion was able to rapidly raise his willpower. And that night, Su Yu lived on the first floor, while Wu Lan lived on the second floor. Similarly, that night, the entire research institute was incomparably quiet. Waterman, Shadow, Swan Ni, Mountain Ox, and Little Hairy Ball were all crouching down to cultivate. That fire, divine text had been ignited. At this moment, all the people and demons in the research institute had entered a state of enlightenment. Those who did not understand in the past felt enlightened when they cultivated today. The bottleneck in the past could not be seen to the end, but today, they saw something in a trance. The Swan Ni and the other great demons had injured their roots. Originally, they probably had no hope of repairing it, but today, under the bathing of the fire, they felt as if they were reborn from the fire. And on this night, Su Yu ignited the divine text and observed the text of will. The so-called text of will is a spiritual imprint that leaves behind some of the master's insights and inheritance. The stronger one is, the more insights they leave behind and the clearer they are. One of the words might contain the core of this text of will, so it can be studied and sketched. The more he read, the more he understood. The parts that he didn't understand in the past and the mysterious parts now seemed very simple. Therefore, There is the existence of the innate divine text. At this moment, Suyu had some understanding of the innate divine text. The innate divine text was based on one's own understanding and comprehension. The divine text was born from feelings. Tribulation, fire, these divine texts were all like this. They were born from feelings and comprehension. The fire, divine text had the effects of comprehension and inheritance. What about the tribulation, divine text? Suyu tried it out, and the aura of calamity rose. Not far away, little hairy ball moved uncomfortably a little further away from Suyu. Shui Ren and the shadow looked at each other, and their hearts trembled slightly. What kind of divine text was this? Vaguely, it made them feel a sense of endless fear. They felt as if a great disaster was approaching. As for Suyu, he opened his eyes at this moment and looked at them. He also had a vague feeling that the calamity word was not an offensive divine text. It was a type of auxiliary divine text to intimidate the other party. Or it could be seen as a kind of pressure, a pressure that threatened the arrival of a great disaster. Even if the opponent was stronger than him, when he activated his divine text, the opponent would feel fear and fear. They might even feel that the end was near and might be able to intimidate some people away. People with weak wills would be easily scared away. This divine text is too weak now. Once we reach the Sun-Moon realm and face a Sun-Moon realm expert, the divine text will explode. The Sun-Moon realm is already very sensitive to danger. Once the divine text intimidates, the Sun-Moon realm expert might flee in fear. Sun-Moon realm experts were very sensitive to danger. Of course, if the opponent was too strong, you might not be able to sense it. For example, the devil god at the 5th level of the Sun-Moon realm was struck by Zhu Tiandao and lost his life. The tribulation, divine text was to increase this sense of danger. Magnify it countless times. At this moment, when Suyu used it, it had some impact on Shui Ren and the others. Although it wasn't too big, Shui Ren and the shadow would have some worries when they fought with him. Their strength would be affected. Once they lost confidence in the battle and lost their confidence to win, this was a very fatal thing. Suyu was cultivating. Upstairs, Wulan was also cultivating. She always felt that it was easier to open her mind today. When she cultivated, she didn't even need to use the word of will. She didn't think too much and continued to cultivate. She still had to work tomorrow. At the same time, you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1128. 1128 Chapter 270, Chaotic Scenes 3. In an attic not far away from the new Primordial Spirit Research Institute, Hu Xiansheng and Niu Baidao were admiring the moon. Looking at the 6-story building in the distance, Hu Xiansheng sighed and said, "It's a pity that my research institute was bought by this kid. I don't know when it will be back in my hands." Niu Baidao's face was full of red light. He was drinking wine and eating food. He laughed and said, "Why are you thinking so much? I don't see any hope for your teleportation array in a short period of time." As he said that, the sun and moon rotated in his eyes. He looked at the small building and clicked his tongue. There are talented people from generation to generation. As soon as this kid entered the research institute, I saw a red sun descending in flames rising. A disaster? Hu Xianqing asked. Niu Baidao said snappily, "Nonsense. What I saw was a red sun, a flame, not a disaster, but an opportunity. Tomorrow, I'll ask him to pick a few old men to help him." The manor head said that he had the fire of civilization, which I didn't believe before, but now I believe it. The old men in the manor are too old and about to die. They've been old friends for so many years. I can't bear to see them die. I might have a way to send them over. Hu Xianqing had been friends with him for hundreds of years, so he did not hold back when he spoke. He frowned slightly and said, "This kid might not be willing. He has been attacked by the sun and the moon from the great Xia manor, so he might be wary of everyone. Who are you going to pick?" "He will pick himself." Niu Baidao smiled and said, "He might be wary, but I think he has great ambitions. He definitely doesn't have enough manpower. Those old fellows are more or less useful." Hu Xianqing nodded and didn't say anything else. Niu Baidao said again, "You old guy, it's time for you to cultivate more. I feel that the great change is not far away. Right now, there's already a trend. Xia Longwu, Zhou Polong, Zhou Patian, Xia Xiaoxi, our manor head Zhu, Qin Zhen of the great Qin manor, Lu Wushan of the great Han manor, a group of people have reached the 8th or 9th level of the sun-moon. They're not far away from attaining the Tao. After hundreds of years of accumulation, they're about to reach an explosive stage." Hu Xianqing said hesitantly, "It's still early, right?" "Early? It's not early anymore." Niu Baidao said in a deep voice, "These people will surely achieve the Tao one after another, and they will even take the opportunity to achieve the Tao together. When that time comes, a great disaster will befall us. Right now, all the big manors are scheming against each other in order to fight for a chance to achieve the Tao. Some of them are trying to achieve the Tao openly, while others are secretly preparing to achieve the Tao. On the surface, there is a crisis, but in the dark, the crisis is even greater. It all depends on who can succeed and who will fail. At that time, it would be impossible for all of them to succeed. There would definitely be a group of people who would die. Chaos was imminent. Qingping had accumulated a group of people who were at the peak of the sun and moon realm for hundreds of years. At this time, they were about to erupt. Hu Xianqing nodded. He thought for a moment and asked, "What about you?" "Me?" Niu Baidao said speechlessly, "I'm still young. I'm only at the 7th level of the sun and moon realm. I haven't lived for a long time and my talent is inferior to others. How can I compare to those peerless geniuses? Xia Longwu, Zhou Polong, Zhou Patian, Zhu Tiandao. These people were all geniuses. He could be considered a genius, not a genius. After more than 300 years, he had only entered the 7th level of the sun-moon realm. And more than 300 years ago, when he opened the academy, he was already at the mountain sea realm. After more than 300 years, his progress was very slow. This was also the state of most people. Hu Xianqing frowned and said, "Did you hide your strength? I feel that your great dream incarnation is quite strong. Do you have many clones and other clones?" Bulsh *t. Niu Baidao said unhappily, "Where did you hide your strength? Do you really think that everyone is that treacherous guy, Wan Tianqing?" Hu Xianqing could not help but laugh. He could not help but say, "Don't say that. Wan Tianqing can really endure it. What exactly is his strength? He's definitely not weaker than me." Niu Baidao laughed. "This guy is a genius. He was at the peak of the mountain and sea realm more than 50 years ago. He's not old either. He reached the peak of the mountain and sea realm in the first 30 to 40 years, but he hasn't improved in the last 50 years. Do you believe it?" Hu Xianqing shook his head. "Nonsense. No one in the world would believe it. It wasn't that there were no people who had been stuck at the peak of the mountain and sea realm for decades. It wasn't applicable to the Wan Tiandao. That was a peerless heaven's favorite. He was a good friend of the 5th generation Yi Batian, a distinguished guest of the great Xia Emperor, and a famous person in the Quest realm. In the end, he was stuck at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Who would believe that?" Hu Xianqing said speechlessly, "It's useless for him to hide it. The more he hides it, the higher our guesses. I guess he's probably at the 8th or 9th level of the sun and moon. If he doesn't have the strength, he'll only cause trouble for himself." Niu Baidao nodded and said with some doubt, "Actually, I don't understand this guy either. Everyone knows that he must have reached the sun and moon. He just won't say that he has reached the sun and moon. What does that mean? Hu Xianqing joked, he might be invincible. Bulsh *t. Niu Baidao said in a speechless manner, invincible my ass. How could I not know that he's really invincible? How could the myriad races not know? Before each invincible person attained Tao, the rays of the sun would shine for 3,000 li. Auspicious light would fall from the sky and the commotion would be huge. What could not be hidden from others could not be hidden from the myriad races. As he spoke, he sighed and said, being invincible in Tao cultivation is the most troublesome. Tell me, no one would know about this Tao cultivation in peace. How could there be so much trouble? Hu Xianqing also sighed and said, yes, and the heavenly battlefield is the most powerful Tao verification, the mouth of all worlds. But don't tell me, old Niu, if we find an invincible relic now, can we verify the Tao in secret? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1129. 1129 Chapter 270. Disorder gradually becomes apparent for. Niu Baidao couldn't help but laugh. Are you talking about those guys from back then? More than 300 years ago, there was a group of invincible people who had achieved Tao in the dark. Of course, these people had all succeeded in achieving Tao in the ruins. Unfortunately, over these years, there were no more ruins that could bear the weight of invincible Tao. The Sun-Moon Tier. When they thought of the ruins, both of them thought of Su Yu at the same time. They looked at the small building. Hu Xianqing muttered, do you think he has mastered the ruins? If he has mastered it, will he be able to inherit it to the invincible tier? Will he be able to succeed in the Tao in the ruins? If it was a relic of the invincible tier, then it would be amazing. Putting everything else aside, the Tao in the ruins, whether it was the reflection of the sunset or the auspicious omens falling from the sky, could all be hidden by the incomparably powerful ruins. Niu Baidao shook his head, don't hold too much hope. Moreover, if the ruins are under his control, it will be difficult for outsiders to enter. Unless we forcefully break through, we can forcefully break through and obtain the inheritance. However, the ruins have been destroyed, and the image of the Tao manifestation cannot be concealed. Hu Xianqing suddenly laughed in a low voice. Do you think that the manor head brought him here for his ruins? He wants to secretly Tao manifestation. Don't think the manor head is so bad, although he is indeed not a good person. Niu Bendao teased and quickly said, it's not that bad. Things that are uncertain are just guesses. He didn't say this anymore. Niu Bendao quickly said, let's not talk about this anymore. The current situation is still very complicated. It's better for you to enter the sun and moon as soon as possible. It's not difficult for others, but it's not difficult for you. The divine literature battle technique is the best key to enter the sun and moon. All the clans in the universe are targeting the multiple divine literature clan. Now, you have been forgotten. It's also your chance. If you are like Hong Tan and the others, then it will be troublesome. I know. Hu Xianqing didn't say anything else. He drank some wine and squinted his eyes. He sighed, Qingping has been good for a few hundred years. I hope that we can delay it for a few more days. The incipient demon clan and the primitive god clan haven't moved. This is the real threat. If they move, they won't be a big threat anymore. The two strongest races had not moved at all. The ancestors of the two races had not come out of seclusion for many years. It had only happened once in the past 300 years. Niu Bidao nodded. He said again, not only that, have you noticed it recently? Over at the heavenly battlefield, some small worlds have opened. We didn't notice it before, but now that they have opened, it's also a sign that the chaotic battle of the heavens is about to arrive. Small worlds. Are there great worlds that are guarded by invincible experts? We haven't discovered them yet, but there are definitely some. Niu Baidao explained, I went to the celestial battlefield not too long ago. There are some small worlds that have opened in the northern and western war zones. The western war zone is connected to a small world, and the celestials sent 3 suns and moons to explore. They're all finished. At the very least, there are suns and moons guarding them, and they might be even stronger. Now, the celestials don't dare to rashly explore them. Even though the 3 sun-moon realm experts were suppressed, they were still at the peak of the mountain and sea realm. In the end, they were all finished. After all, they had the foresight and knowledge of the sun-moon realm experts. When the 3 of them joined forces, they were no weaker than the sun-moon realm experts. In the end, they died. The people inside were ruthless enough, and fast enough. None of them managed to escape. What about our side? We don't have any on our side for the time being, Niu Baidao said with a smile. However, I feel that we're fast. There are too many worlds in the myriad heavens. The myriad heavens battlefield only appeared a few hundred years ago. Soon, it connected to thousands of different worlds. This is the calamity of the myriad realms in the heavens. Without the existence of the heavenly battlefield, the various realms would not be connected. Now, they were all connected. Hu Xianqing did not think so. The heavenly battlefield has existed for a long time. There are many relics. It can only be said that it was forgotten and sealed a few years ago. Over the years, it gradually recovered. If I'm not wrong, there should have been a glorious existence in the ancient times. The human realm might really be the lord of all worlds, the core. The celestial battlefield might have been created by the humans themselves to conquer all worlds. This was also the guess of the human experts. In reality, it was not a guess. The God-fiend race had existed for many years, and their heritage had not been broken. There were some scattered records in the ancient times. Of course, all worlds might have experienced a destruction, so those records were not too many. But from some records, it could be seen that the human race in the past was extremely powerful. This was without a doubt. Just look at the ruins. Some of the ruins instantly created dozens of invincible. At the critical moment, the human race instantly produced dozens of invincible. This was the lingering shadow. Niu Baidao did not say anything else. The 2 drank wine, admired the moon, looked at the small building in the distance, and fell into deep thought. The Ming dynasty that had been peaceful for many years didn't mean that everyone had forgotten about the danger. If one forgot about the battle, they would definitely be in danger. The battle of the heavens was becoming more and more chaotic. Now, there were even some ancient races that had started to appear. With the interworld connection, the battle of the heavens would definitely become even more chaotic. As for the human realm, they were being targeted by the myriad races. They were being roped in and divided, causing the human race to be invincible. They might not be united. If you don't accept me, I won't accept you. Even the strongest great Qin king was unable to suppress the human realm, unify the world, and fight against the myriad races. If this continued, there would be internal strife and discord. Once a battle broke out, the human realm would suffer great losses. Only then would they be able to gradually unify the human realm. Su Yu couldn't hear Niu Baidao and Hu Xianqing's words. At this moment, he was feeling a divine text in his mind out of curiosity. The 10th divine text had been successfully drawn. Beast. Su Yu roughly sensed it for a moment. In the next moment, he grabbed a small long-haired rabbit not far away. In the next moment, the long-haired rabbit disappeared. Very soon, it reappeared. I'm not a beast tamer. Su Yu couldn't help but laugh. How did I draw this divine text? Was it because I often spent time with the Swan Ni and the others that they thought I was a beast tamer, and in the end, I sketched out this beast tamer space? This divine text was quite common. It was exclusive to beast tamers and was specially used to store mounts. Of course, there were tiers to the divine text. A Tier 1 divine text could only be stored in the air, while a Tier 2 divine text could only be stored in the air. If one wanted to store the Swan Ni and the Diamond Mountain Ox, they would need at least a peak Tier 2 divine text. Not bad. Even if this divine text was useless, it was not to the extent of being useless. In some places, it was easy for a mount to ruin things. For example, when it was hiding. Unfortunately, a divine text can only store one demon beast. Su Yu ridiculed. This was very unfriendly. It was best to sketch a divine text that could hold countless demon beasts. Of course, this was possible. For example, if the beast divine text reached the Sun-Moon realm or the Mountain-Sea realm, Su Yu could put some space fragments in, he could forge the divine text himself into a secret realm. At that time, he could hold many demon beasts. Currently, only the Sun and Moon realm could do this. As for the Mountain and Sea realm, unless he used the equipment in the laboratory, he could only take the initiative to hold space fragments. In other words, a beast tamer at the Sun-Moon realm might have a large army of demon beasts. As for those at other realms, just by drawing a few divine texts that could hold demon beasts, they would be able to subdue a few demon beasts. Not bad, let's try drawing another spatial divine rune next time. There were many types of spatial divine runes. Some stored things, some shuttled through space, and some tore through space. Principle whose divine runes should be shuttle type. Their offensive power might not be strong, but their escaping ability was first-rate. Su Yu was actually very interested in them. This kind of shuttle-type spatial divine runes were too suitable to be assassins. They appeared and disappeared mysteriously, and with a single strike, they would definitely kill them. They would instantly flee thousands of kilometers away, and no one would be able to catch them. 10 divine texts. Su Yu exhaled. 10 divine texts could also be dismantled into a relatively powerful divine text battle technique. Should he just advance to soaring in the sky? Su Yu smiled and didn't think about it anymore. If he didn't open all 180 divine apertures, he wouldn't advance. It didn't matter if he was weak now, as long as he improved quickly in the future. If things went smoothly, he wouldn't be able to stay in soaring in the sky for too long. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1130. 1130 Chapter 271 City of Wisdom 1. The next day, January 16th. There was a meeting in the morning. The meeting of the Polytheistic Department was considered a department meeting. There weren't many people anyway. Including Su Yu, there were 56 people from the Polytheistic Department. Including Wulan, there were 57 people. The Polytheistic Department wasn't small. There were quite a few buildings in it. The meeting was held in the Battle Technique Hall. When Su Yu and Wulan arrived, they almost thought that they had come to the wrong place. In the Combat Technique Hall, there were tables, chairs, and benches. There were many melon seeds and candies. The fragrance of wine could be smelled even from outside. Entering the door, there were people eating melon seeds, chatting, eating melon seeds, eating candies, teasing birds, and raising dogs. There was everything there was to see. There were only a few dozen people, but the noise was not any lower than a few hundred people. Some people were even reciting poems. Seeing Su Yu and the others enter the door, a student shook his head and laughed. There are 2 people entering the door. They have 2 heads and 4 arms. I haven't seen them in a long time. Look at them carefully. Su Yu did not say anything or interrupt. He just entered the door. He was really free. On the other side, Huang Feng was chatting with someone. When she saw Su Yu, she waved and said, "Su Yu, come and sit." That's the student seat. Was Su Yu considered a student? No. A junior researcher was not considered a student. Su Yu turned his head to look at Wulan. Just as he was about to speak, Wulan casually said, "You go ahead. I'll get to know the students here and see if there are any geniuses. Forget about the trash." Her voice was not soft. She had always been like this and did not care about anything. If he was a genius, everyone could communicate with him. If she was trash, she couldn't be bothered with her. As for those who were more talented than her, she usually didn't bother with them because they were stronger than her. Unless she could catch up with them, she would feel embarrassed. Suyu smiled, nodded, and walked over. Many students were also looking at him and discussing in low voices. "This is Suyu. He looks quite refined. Why did he kill so many people? He's very fierce. Everyone, be careful. I heard that he specializes in killing geniuses. If he sees any geniuses, he will kill them. We are all geniuses. Everyone, be careful." Suyu couldn't be bothered with them. The students from Daming Mansion were all chatty and talkative. They could chat with anyone they met. Walking to the front, there was a big table. Including Huang Feng, there were 10 people. For Ling Yun and 8 researchers were in the air. Logically speaking, there were 12 researchers, but there were 2 missing. This was the entire faculty of the Multidivine Literature Department. There was also the dean. Huang Feng laughed and said, "Suyu, let me introduce you." As she said that, she introduced the other 9 people to Suyu. 6 men and 3 women. They all looked quite young. However, there were a few who were probably not young anymore. Very soon, Huang Feng specially introduced a man and a woman. They were both very young and very handsome and beautiful. You have to pay special attention to these 2 people. Huang Feng smiled and said, "These are the 2 youngest students of the dean. They have only been in school for a few years. This is junior brother Ho Liang, the youngest son of Director Ho of the Department of Strengthening Education. This junior sister is called Yunji, the eldest princess daughter." The eldest princess was talking about Zhu Tiandao's eldest daughter. Zhu Tiandao had 2 daughters, and this Yunji was Zhu Tiandao's granddaughter. The male student was at the 6th level of the Soaring Heaven tier, while the female student was stronger, at the 7th level of the Soaring Heaven tier. This was also the Department of Multiple Divine Languages. The 2 most outstanding people in recent years were not old, and they were not even 30 years old. They could be considered people of Baifeng's generation. Ho Liang smiled and said, "Greetings, junior brother Su." He did not call them classmates. Ho Liang was now an assistant researcher, and Suyu was also a researcher. He did not treat Suyu as a student either. "Hello, junior brother Su." Yunji also smiled and did not say anything. Suyu nodded slightly and greeted them. He knew these 2 people. 8 June of the capital city. He had asked around about these 8 June. These 2 were among them. There were also a few others. The big fatty Zhu Hongliang was there, the beast by Junsheng was there, and there were also a few people from Zhangjin College. They were all students from the college. As for Zhu Hongwen, he wasn't included in the list. The so-called Ba Jun was one of the 8 disciples from the aristocratic families. Their strength wasn't bad and they were quite famous. He didn't expect the 2 of them to be in the polytheistic college. Of course, there was also Su Yu who knew them. Zhu Qinyan, the 8th princess of the Zhu family, was also one of them. Zhu Hongliang and Zhu Qinyan were also in the Institute of Civilization, but they weren't in the polytheistic college. One of them was in the beast taming department while the other was in the puppet manufacturing department. Su Yu did not say much. On the table, the others were looking at him with interest. One of them was the oldest and the strongest, the elder who had reached the 9th level of Ling Yun smiled and said, "Junior brother Su, since you have come to Daming Mansion, don't be so reserved. To be honest, you have introduced several cultivation techniques. We are all very interested in them. The soul-devouring technique, the acupoint fusion technique, and the pure origin technique are all very interesting. I took a look and saw that there are some shadows of the cultivation techniques of the 10,000 races. The old man's name was Wenzhong. He had followed Hu Xianqing for many years and was not young. He was close to 300 years old. He was too old, and if the mountains and seas could not merge into one aperture, it was likely that the mountains and seas would have no hope. Wenzhong did not really care about these things. He smiled and said, "I took a look from them. The pure essence art and the soul-devouring art are probably based on the cultivation techniques of a race. But the joint aperture art, I saw the shadows of many cultivation techniques." The old man exclaimed, "The soul-devouring formula and the pure essence formula. To tell you the truth, if I really need to spend time to deduce and modify them, including making them myself, I think I can do it after spending a few years. However, the convergence formula is very exquisite. The first version was just average. In the second version, I saw the shadows of the cultivation techniques of the red frog race, the flying eagle race, the human races, convergence formula, and many other races." After saying that, he said in puzzlement, "However, I don't think that the main body of the fusion technique is these, but the transformation of a powerful race's cultivation technique. As for which race it is, I can't deduce it for the time being." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1131. 1131 Chapter 271, City of Wisdom 2. As he said this, the old man hesitated and said, "I feel that it seems like the talent of some powerful race, but I'm not sure. The heavenly dragon race. This race is naturally strong and easy to achieve aperture synthesis. This shouldn't be a talent skill, right?" He fell into deep thought, and Su Yu's heart shook violently. He had met an expert. A true expert. That's right, his aperture fusing technique had fused with the cultivation techniques of many races, but that was the cultivation technique of 10,000 races. The aperture was completely different from that of the human race. He had transformed and changed his appearance, and to be honest, Su Yu was completely unable to discern anything. This Wenzhong, on the other hand, was able to see many things, and even saw some traces of the heavenly dragon race. One had to know that there were only two kinds of techniques currently circulating on the market, and there were no top-notch versions. Of course, Su Yu had simplified both of them a little. The second type was actually the heavenly dragon tribe's innate aperture fusion technique. This Wenzhong was very knowledgeable. "Teacher." Su Yu was just about to speak when Wenzhong regained his composure. He smiled and said, "Don't. Call me senior brother instead. There are specializations in the path of research. You are also someone who has made achievements before, so let's befriend each other as equals. There is a hierarchy when it comes to the path of research, and it's all for the path of Tao. There's no need to be so high and low." Su Yu took a deep breath and did not stand on ceremony. He quickly said, "Senior brother Wen, you are right. The converging technique is indeed based on reference. I am considered to be the integrator, not the creator." Wenzhong smiled and said, "Don't belittle yourself. There are so many apertures, and so many cultivation techniques. Don't we know about it?" "We know. But why is it that no one can come up with a new and useful cultivation technique? Every acupuncture point has its own unique function. It depends on whether you can discover the same 36 acupuncture points. You may use different operating methods to create different cultivation techniques and different effects. You can't say that we used the same acupuncture points and that the cultivation technique you created was copied from me, right?" Huang Feng smiled and said, "Senior brother Wen, that's beside the point." Wenzhong smiled and ignored him. He looked at Su Yu and said, "I heard that the original purpose of your establishment of the Primordial Spirit Research Institute was to study the primordial spirit aperture, right?" Su Yu nodded. Wenzhong smiled and said, "Then you can communicate with me." I've actually been studying it all these years. Bai Tianhao, do you know? I know. My master's ancestor. Yes, Bai Feng. Wen Zhong smiled and said, Bai Feng is also a genius. In the past, I wanted to take him in as a student, but Bai Feng didn't like him. He wanted to go to the place where the fifth generation was, to walk a different path. Senior brother Wen, are you also called the fifth generation? Suyu was surprised. Wen Zhong smiled and said, there are many divine languages in the world, and everything comes from the great Xia mansion. The first generation created many divine languages, and the third generation carried them forward. The fifth generation established the peak. Of course, if we really count according to the number of divine languages, the fifth generation is only the third generation. He did not say much and quickly said, it's good that you know about Bai Tianhao. Bai Tianhao's battle before his death exploded with great power. Ling Yun's 9th level killed the 7th level of the mountain and sea realm. I've studied it for a long time over the years. Wen Zhong thought for a moment and said, actually, there is one thing that I'm very confused about. According to what you said, the primordial spirit aperture is a critical point between the primordial spirit aperture and the divine aperture. The critical aperture, however. Bai Tianhao is the fighter. Suyu frowned. Wen Zhong smiled and said, when you mentioned this concept before, there was no such thing as the primordial spirit aperture. I named it, Heavenly Cycle Aperture back then. Suyu's eyes moved slightly as he said, Senior brother, you mean that the 360 primordial spirit apertures form the Heavenly Cycle Aperture, and not the primordial spirit aperture that I mentioned? Yes. Wen Zhong nodded and quickly became interested. But I think what you said makes sense. Moreover, Bai Tianhao actually did not open the 360 apertures. Could his heavenly cycle aperture be caused by opening 180 apertures? Or 270 apertures? The two quickly began to discuss, but the others couldn't get a word in when they saw their heated discussion. On the table, another middle-aged man sent a voice transmission to Huang Feng. Senior sister, senior brother Wen did have a discussion with this kid. Do you think this kid has any skills? Huang Feng sent a voice transmission with a smile. Of course he does. You'll know when you hear it. I haven't seen or understood other aspects of Suyu, but his understanding of the essence aperture is not something that you or I can compare with. Moreover, he has opened too many apertures. I've looked at him and there are at least 320 of them. People like him can be considered practical, but we can only be considered theoretical. Not only that, Suyu can easily pick up those cultivation techniques. This kid has at least 800 cultivation techniques. Huang Feng still recognized Suyu. He was not an idiot. It was hard to say in other aspects, but he was an expert in the path of a fighter. For a civilized master, it was enough to be proficient in one aspect. How could there be so many perfect people? Suyu was still so young. Suyu was chatting with Wen Zhong when someone outside the door smiled and said, everyone is here. The next moment, Hu Xianqing entered the door. Hello, Dean. Good morning, Dean. The students greeted him one after another. On the table, the others began to call out Dean or Teacher. Rather than calling it an academy, it was more appropriate to call it Hu Xianqing's private dojo. This was because Ting Kong and Ling Yun were both taught by him. Everyone, sit. Hu Xianqing chuckled and said, this year, our academy has 2 more geniuses. Congratulations. There's no need to mention Suyu, everyone knows. That's Wu Lan, a genius student from the great Xia mansion, Wu from the dual Wu acupoint fusion technique. In the hall, Wu Lan listened and felt a little guilty. The old man's smile was so wretched.